Our ancestors built the first city as a beacon of peace on Earth. And it almost was. Until one night, an unseen force plucked it from the very face of the Earth and placed it under unfamiliar stars. It was a bountiful world with no sign of civilization. A world we named Paragon. With no way to return home, we adapted. New governments were built from the seeds of our past, and with them grew new ways of life. But the vices of old still festered. Organized crime bled out from the shadows and took root, preying on the foundation of our new home. But this world had one more surprise in store. A mysterious element in the atmosphere that gave a fraction of the population superhuman abilities. Under the leadership of the city's first hero, the Age of Legends had begun. 300 years later, Paragon thrives under the protection of its champions. And yet, the shadows of the past still linger. When darkness rises, it will fall to the next generation of young heroes to defend the first city. Welcome to First City, the show where the supers are hero and the heroes eat soup.
Oh no.
You know what's up.
We do love soup.
We do, yeah. Particularly Matryoshka loves
Yes.
soup more than everyone else.
Yes.
I'm Ian Frost. These are the superheroes. You know what's good. Let's get into it.
Wow.
Ooh. Wow.
Previously on the First City, the group continued with their series of missions with other teams. Training exercises coordinated between Pantheon and other members of the Nexus of Valiance and the other heroes who teach at the Moonlight Academy. But first, sort of before your mission for the day, Haramon was met with a surprise birthday party at Team Tonatrus's house, hosted by our four-armed friend Ivy. And throughout this party, you had several just incredible displays of affection, gifts from all sorts of friends and different people, and an amazing fireworks display that wasn't really fireworks, but really more just like fire that works from Jeremy, culminating in a final, very emotional gift from Helix that was not opened until later on in private, as Helix was not present at the party. But as Haramon opened the gift in private, they saw a large rainbow Titan scale, which has a lot of particular significance for you in specific, Haramon. And then we sort of faded into the next day, where a training exercise with Combio saw you guys fighting the apex version of Big Robot that was designed specifically to counter all of your powers. But using some creativity from Team Combio, you managed to bring the thing down swiftly and impressively, leading you to a very pleasant dinner at a very nice restaurant at the behest of Combio, who showed you a beautiful, quaint Mexican part of the first city called NPC, Nuestra Primera Ciudad. And we faded out on this very welcoming dinner as the four of you, with your new member of Team Pantheon, really began to feel like you were settling in as a team. We fade back in a few days later. Now, up until this point, Jeremy has had to make do with remaining on campus, as he is still kind of a hot button topic. As far as everyone knows, he's still missing. No one has revealed that he's here outside of this campus. So you've been very careful. But Jeremy, as we've been seeing, has been getting a little stir crazy from this. And so a solution has been devised. And as you find yourselves heading out for an early afternoon out on the town, out in the city, with Pantheon, we look over and we find you all sitting on the mag rail
the larger one that's bringing you through the city as the buildings are whizzing by outside. You're all wearing sort of civilian clothes just for a day out. And you look at Pantheon sitting across from you, wearing her trademark sweater, very simple, sort of ripped up jeans, not wearing her wig. Her hair is just sort of spiked up, and you see that she's wearing these big round glasses. And the lenses of those glasses actually project her eyes a little bit differently, or rather reflect her eyes differently. Her eyes look a little bit bigger, and they're reflected a different color than her purple eyes. The glasses actually make her eyes appear green.
Hell yeah.
So you're seeing Pantheon completely blending in with this very simple civilian disguise. And all of you are dressed in your civilian clothes as well, and you look over and you see Jeremy with a little bit different face than you've seen before. Your first day out on the town since you've been here at Moonlight. Because Jeremy has been gifted something. A pair of glasses a little bit similar to the ones Pantheon wears, but also a little bit different. Because you see, projected around his face are slightly different facial features. Just enough to distort. I imagine you're still wearing your hat, you know, and your hair is a little bit different than, you know, when people saw you in that video. You were a little more unkempt then. Combined with the sort of different projected facial features of these very high-tech glasses gifted to you by Dr. Quickstep. Or at least you were told that they were designed by Dr. Quickstep. You now find yourself here perfectly blending into this crowd on the train. You see Silhouette sitting there, really excited to just be out. You have a general idea of what you're here to do. Pantheon seems very just like kind of subdued. Yes.
I have questions, so many questions.
Yes.
One, do we have names to call Pantheon when we're out in public? I feel like I've asked this before, but I also don't remember if we've addressed this. If we're just like out hanging out in the town and we need to like talk to her and address her by name.
Okay, I kind of want to roleplay that moment. So would you want to ask her that now on the train, or would you want to sort of do and have like a little moment where we see when you asked her that?
So what do we call you when we're just hanging out on the town? Because we obviously can't call you Pantheon because everyone will be like, what? Pantheon? Here?
Yeah, that's very true. She says, sort of sitting on your guys' couch like a couple days ago, way before this.
We're eating soup.
Yeah, you're just sort of sitting around your little coffee table in the living room. Maybe like while you guys are moving in.
Oh,
to the new house.
Helping us move in.
Yeah, she was helping you guys move in.
So strong.
And she can be several people, so it helps you guys move very, very quickly. But you're taking a little break, maybe sitting having some lemonade. You ask her this, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Something I wanted to talk to you guys about. We are going to have a few more sort of what I would say civilian outings together. And Jeremy, we're working on something for you, so you don't have to stay cooped up here until we figure out what we're going to do." But yeah, you're right. I mean, while we're out, you should know a name to call me. And
do you want something cool like P-Train?
No, I mean, I was sort
Patricia?
of just thinking you would. I was just sort of thinking you would maybe use my name. You are my team. That's, you know, I mean, different squad leaders obviously have different prerogatives about sharing their identity with their teams. Most don't do it until later. But what I have planned is all about your identities, particularly your civilian identities. And so I think it's only fair that you should have something to call me while we're out. After all, it's not a big deal to me. It's what I've been going by for 25 years. So, well, longer. It is my name. It's Jen. Just call me Jen.
Jen. White girl Jen.
Oh my god.
I was going to name you after the famous old Earth teacher, Miss Frizzle, but I think Jen's way better.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I do like that a lot. But no, I think Jen will do fine outside the walls of this campus.
Jen Frizzle.
Jen Frizzle.
Jen Frizzle.
Jen Frizzle.
Jay Frizzle.
Rap name.
Yeah, for real.
And then as we
Jay Frizz.
sort of back into this moment.
Second question. Just because I need to know.
Mhm.
Is this an item that is readily available on the market, either for the public or for the heroing public, or is this like custom? What's the regulations on it?
It is custom. It is something that is
Let's say I'm asking Pantheon.
now that you're here in the heroing community, it's something that you've been taught about now.
Okay.
It's something that you know that is something that they generally use, and it is known about. They're not like illegal.
Mhm.
They are just case by case regulated for different circumstances.
Okay, so this
For
is
example,
like a thing.
assuming someone else's identity is not legal.
Definitely
Identity
bad.
theft is bad. Using it to hide your identity when you do a crime is bad.
Mhm.
You know, using it to avoid like identity detecting stuff for different places you might go is bad. But it is known and understood that this is something that the heroing community uses, and that's part of the reason why it is, you know, it is legal to have this
Cool.
in a
Fuck
world
the
of heroes.
paparazzi.
Yeah, for real.
For real.
Yeah, and that's actually something I think that would be interesting to explore, that celebrities often, you know, are allowed to use this too in certain circumstances, given the types of regulations and the leeway
They have
there.
to get like a permit or something.
Mhm. Celebrities will sometimes wear these to go out and like get groceries and stuff to sort of eliminate that
I love that.
weird paparazzi
Mhm.
relationship
Mhm.
that exists in our time in real life. So
Okay. Those
Oh,
are my
yeah.
questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
another example of how the sort of heroing world has bled into the world at large.
Real quickly, can the glasses appear to just kind of be like a blindfold over his eyes?
Ooh, get some Jujutsu
Yes.
Kaisen energy going in there.
Give me
Oh,
give me
you
more.
know.
Yeah.
Like his facial things are different, but like he can see through it, but it's just like a hologram that looks like he's blind. And he's
Huh.
just wearing that over his eyes.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, that's a little more attention drawing, but also maybe not.
That's what
You
he
know,
does.
it's probably fine. Yeah.
Mind your own business.
Yeah, he's just it doesn't matter if you're going to draw attention or not. No matter what, you always have to have drip.
Yeah.
True.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's the future. Fashion is all over the place. So maybe people wouldn't think twice if they saw somebody with the.
Geordie LaForge head ass. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So the mag rail pulls into the station, and you step out into your destination for the day, and you see before you, all around you, is this sprawling, massive shopping center. And as you're looking around, Pantheon says to you, all right, some of you guys may have already been here before if you grew up in the first city. It's very possible this is sort of a hub in this place. People come here all the time, and you can get pretty much anything that you need here. This is the Maxi Mall, also known as the Max.
The max of all time.
the Max.
And looking around, you do see there are these huge, like very indoor mall like buildings, and you can see windows up above and archways, but there are also various levels with archways and walkways leading to other buildings all around. It almost makes kind of a small city, and you can see restaurants, and you can see like there are various stages throughout where you see people performing, or like performances being put on with musicians and all kind of like dancers. There are people out here just performing as people from all over the first city are making their way through these various shops. They're having dinner, or well, really having lunch together. It's about noon.
Nice.
So a lot of people are this sort of this lunch busyness all around you. All the different smells of the different restaurants are hitting you from all around, and you see like fancy clothing stores to more like, you know, sort of like hip clothing stores. There are a lot of teens who are out just sort of hanging out in the afternoon. But it's so sprawling and large, you can't see the end of it. The train let you out in the middle of it on this platform. And when you step out of the platform, it's this sort of circular gathering area. And in the very center of it is a directory. And Pantheon walks you up to the directory. But the directory is not a straightforward, like, billboard thing that we're used to, or even that you saw at Nova Skybase. What you actually see is a huge table that is projecting a holographic image of the entire Maxi Mall. And as Pantheon reaches into it, she is able to sort of pull up and expand different parts, and you can see images of the interior of different places that you can look at. And there's a screen down below that when you select different areas and blow them up, like pull them up into larger images, the screen will tell you about what that place is and show you the most direct route to get there.
That's so sick. Enhance.
Mm-hmm. So she pulls up a particular restaurant. And you see the screen says Cafe 360. And she says, as we all know, I'm sure, it is Selena's birthday. And I have taken the liberty of making us a lunch reservation at Cafe 360. One of my favorite spots that I haven't gotten to come to in a while. I thought you guys would enjoy it. I have reservations for 2 o'clock. Now that gives you guys exactly 2 hours to do your task for the day. Now, and she huddles in a little bit closer to you guys, sort of away from the crowds around. And in fact, she walks you a little bit away from the directory so that, you have a little bit more privacy. And she goes, now, I brought you here for a reason. You guys are working really, really hard on being heroes. And frankly, you are breaking all of my expectations apart. But now, we need to take another step, a little more introspective step. Something that every hero has a different relationship with. In fact, you might even choose to completely ignore this aspect of heroism. But you won't know until you've tried it what decision you're going to make on that front. And what I'm talking about is your secret identity. Most heroes have them. The vast majority of heroes who do not report directly to the government, at least, that is widely understood as the primary difference between us, other than, us being sort of more free agents. But what we need to really get into is how exactly that works, how you craft that. Because on the surface, you would think that it's just sort of being yourself. But for many heroes, being a hero is being yourself. And the self that you show to the world is something else. Now, there have been plenty of cases of heroes who, their hero identity is their true identity, and their secret identity is the mask they wear. That can lead to some very unhealthy behaviors in a hero. And frankly, it's not encouraged. Now, personally, I think who you really are should be reflected in both your hero identity and your true identity, because frankly, you should be allowed to be yourself. But that doesn't mean you can't embellish a bit. It's going to sound a little silly, but developing your personal style is actually extremely beneficial. And you guys all have a pretty distinct style of your own on a day-to-day. But I want to combine that skill with something else. The ability to navigate a large space, in fact, a large crowded space, and be able to find what you need quickly and efficiently. And she pulls out her wallet and she takes out 4 $100 bills, and she hands one to each of you. And she goes, you each have a budget of $100. You have 2 hours to traverse this place and add to your wardrobe. The assignment is to find pieces that suit and develop your individual style. Because if you can make a statement with your everyday life, well, the human mind is wired to make associations. And while it may on the surface seem counterproductive to be associated with a particular style. As a hero, having an association to something else that is your everyday style will keep people's minds fixed on that style. It'll distract from the association with your hero identity. For example, and she indicates herself and her just trademark fashion that she always wears, her like just her sort of baggy hoodie and her athletic wear, her spiked up hair and her glasses and her ripped up jeans and her like sneakers, her like workout sneakers that she's wearing. She goes, "This is comfortable. This is just kind of what I choose to wear, but it serves a purpose. I dress more or less like this wherever I go when I'm not on assignment, because it keeps people's minds sort of at ease. They have that association. They're not thinking about a certain other name that I don't want on their lips." That's what I want to work on today. So,
Wait, so we're trying to not look like our superhero selves, or look like our superhero selves, but not enough that they make the straight association?
that's an excellent question. And honestly, that is up to your discretion to determine. There are heroes who are able to work their personal style in their secret identity to actually have hints of that hero to sort of throw people off. That is a route that you could go. Now, you, for example, you have that awesome, cowboy thing going on. If you wanted that to carry over into your personal style, when we get into developing your hero costumes, and she says that very, very quietly, you're going to have consideration for your everyday attire. They need to balance. That can mean harmonizing or contrasting, depending on what kind of hero you're going to be and what kind of person you want to be, because frankly, you're still going to have your own lives outside of this work. That's what I want you to explore today. Think about what pieces fit you and who you want to be, what you want to show to the world versus who you truly are. Does that make sense?
I'll figure it out.
I'm sure you will, because the truth is, the main reason we're doing this now is that there is a particular, there's a deadline coming up, and because of everything that's been going on, we've sort of been neglecting it. And that's partially on me, but it's mostly on the universe that keeps throwing insane shit at my team. So, you might already know this, but at the end of this term, should you all be approved, which I'm sure that you will, you'll be receiving your hero costumes, along with your sort of preliminary licenses, your trainee licenses, to do hero work in the field, in the city. Now, in order for that to happen, we need to start having some consultations. Very soon, I'm going to be giving you a list of companies that Moonlight Academy contracts with. And you're welcome to do research outside of the ones we contract with as well, but you're going to need to decide what agency you want to design your costume. Sort of a research assignment that you'll have the weekend to work on. And I apologize again that you haven't had more time to do this, but again, our deadlines have been neglected a bit due to our particular circumstances, but I trust you guys. You can get it done. You guys have researched more with a little bit more at stake, I would say. But that's why we're doing this now. Any other questions?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, team. Break.
Joe just runs for the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we get to the portion of the episode where I want to ask each of you guys individually what kind of stores you hit and what pieces you pick up.
Fashion montage.
Please
I knew
hit
you
me
guys
last.
knew you guys
Please
would
hit
love
me
this.
last.
I can go first unless Ben has an idea,
No,
clear
go for
idea.
it. Rock it
Okay.
out.
So I think, was there any indication that this was going to be like the thing for today?
She told you ahead of time that you were going to the Maxi Mall and that you are going to do some shopping.
Okay, I think fuck. I think generally in casual civilian style, Hermione prefers to cover up all of their body because the scars are pretty significant.
Very distinctive.
But that's more out of like necessity. I mean, like they do wear items that they like, but their default state is to like sleeves out, body, yada yada. So I think first, Hermione goes just like a Forever 21 sort of styled place, and because those tend to have sort of the style that they generally like, which is sort of like a crisscrossy, sort of wrapped look when it comes to like shirts and skirts and stuff. And I think we see a quick montage of Hermione there with a bunch of like crisscross blouses and like long like maxi skirts. But the thing is like Hermione, every look that Hermione has worn in this show so far has been different because they just like dressing differently. So like Hermione's like, well, what does it mean if my personal style is to have a lot of variety, you know? So I think we just see like a bunch of different types of things, like tight turtleneck shirts and like loose flowing caftans and shit. Yeah, and I think that's it. I think Hermione gets buys all of the clothes very quickly because they're just like, well, that's probably fine if I like variety and I don't have a particular personal like signifier like Pantheon does. That's a thing in itself. So I think they just buy clothes that resemble clothes they already like and know. And then they just like they go off script and we see them go to like a vintage comics shop and like get some ice cream and like not with Pantheon's money, with their own money. Yeah. But they very quickly sort of they're like, I'm just gonna do what I like, and then I'm gonna do this other shit that I like.
I think when you're at the let's call it when you're at the Eternal 19, you there's a point where at first when you go off so do we need a moment to let that sink in?
Could I also offer up Finally 22?
Finally 22 is also good. That's next door.
Yeah.
They're bitter rivals.
There's like a revolving door between the two.
Yes. They're different stores, but they're connected inside and they don't have doors inside.
Or that's the second level. You go upstairs, up the escalator. And
and I think also Hermione has like big box braids right now, and I think they might have did a little bit of like covering up of the scar, and their makeup's a little different. But like Hermione's look, that is like, you know, the look for Hermione is not just clothes that they wear. It's something very specific and will probably be something incorporated into their hero style. And so that to them, they're like, this is such a style that is so specific and foreign to everyone here specifically that I feel like I don't have a lot of pressure to create some sort of signature style like Pantheon or like Jeremy seemingly, or even like Helix. Like Helix wears the same shit all the time, or Backtrack wears the same shit all the time. They don't feel that pressure because the when they're in business mode, it's so specific and not like anything else they've ever seen here that they're like, I'm just gonna get clothes and then fuck off and until it's time to eat.
So at first, when you make your first stop at the Eternal 19, Silhouette's first instinct is to just follow you because she doesn't seem to fully know what to do. And when you have like your stuff that you're going to go into the changing room and try, Jo, she is holding what looks to be $100 worth of cargo pants in her arms. And she's like, I'm not sure I'm doing this right. And she goes with you into the changing rooms and starts putting on some different outfits that maybe you helped her look at first. And
I think it's definitely a lot of like, well, based on your style that you usually have, it seems like you prioritize two things: function and comfort.
Mhm.
You know, you can fit a lot of stuff in cargo pants, and you wear, you know, loose long sleeve shirts and stuff. And so it's like, as long as you stay in that vein, I think it'll be fine. You know, it seems like you have a clear idea of what you like to wear in general.
yeah, pockets
My
mostly.
guess would be you're gonna have a harder time with the hero outfit than
Mhm.
this. So don't stress about this.
Oh. Mhm. Yeah, I kind of know. I think that the agency thing will be pretty easy once I see like different ones. But yeah, I'm gonna need some references. I don't fully know, because like invisibility is my main thing. So you know, what I look like is gonna be a little like, we'll figure it out. And
I
you
mean,
guys are
I
having
have an
this.
idea right now, but we're gonna cross that bridge when we get there.
Sure. And you guys are having this conversation in the changing rooms, and there's some cool technology in the changing rooms. In fact, you're able to get adjoining ones that are separated by a wall between them, but that soundproofing technology that we've been seeing in different places, that's present, and you can turn that on, but you can actually let that soundproofing box go to the next one over, so that people who are friends who are changing in adjoining rooms can be soundproofed for their conversation, but still have a barrier between them that they can talk through. So you're talking to her in complete privacy, and you know that you can talk about this stuff freely and still sort of change with privacy together. And so I think that's something, it's like a little future thing that is possible. So as you're having this conversation,
can we also say that they like have a feature where you can like kind of hold up the outfit to yourself and it'll like show you what it'll look like, and the actual
instead of wearing it?
changing, and the actual changing is just to see if it fits well and stuff.
Yeah, that's actually really
That's
cool.
so
You can
slick.
make like it scans you in front of the mirror.
Yeah,
I think this would be at like one of the fancier places where like you stand in front of the mirror and there's a scanner, and then it creates a 3D avatar of you in the mirror, like in the screen, and then you can superimpose, like you type in the size of it, and it like superimposes onto your body type. So you can look at yourself like you're looking in the mirror, but it's actually you're dressing an avatar of yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I wish Qui-Gon voice, I wish that was so. Yeah, so that's happening, and there's sort of an awkward pause in the conversation there, and Joe says, "Can I ask you something kind of personal?"
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we don't talk like that much about your life before, like in the where you come from. We don't really, we haven't pried about it. But we're friends, and we're getting closer to getting our costumes, and I was just kind of wondering like what. I don't even really know what I'm asking. Are you gonna really be worried about identity stuff? I mean, is that the kind? Did you come here to be that kind of superhero? I guess. I'm sorry if that's really messy and personal. I'm sorry. Don't answer. I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't come here to be a hero at all, as it's understood here. Being here is in this program is sort of not a means to an end, but like we don't have superheroes back home. It's not an industry. It's I came here because it seemed like the best option. If I went to the government program, it would be weird. It'd be like a conflict of interest almost, because I'm like here to judge the government and in the society and how it works, but I would be working for them. And also seems like they're just really strict and weird, especially now with everything that we're like doing. Yeah, Herman's not like putting on any clothes or anything because they're like done. So I am not actually here to be a superhero. I everything that I've done while I've been here is just sort of what I do. It's not a thing to become. It's not a persona to portray. It's not a job career for me. You know, I'll chameleon into the way things work here. You know, I'll get the provisional license. I'll be a hero who gets paid by, I don't even remember how heroes get paid, but I'm not going to be like a prestige. I'm not going to be like the closest I think I could imagine being is someone who's like a tonitress, like working for the little guy. Like, I'm not trying to get anything from being a hero, and I'm not trying to be one. I just am trying to be a good person who likes to protect people and provide for them.
Well, I think that's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, there are different kinds of heroes, and that makes sense to me. I mean, I personally, I love the whole idea of it. I mean, I grew up looking up to all of these people, and I still can't believe that I'm even here trying on clothes for Pantheon right now, and it's wild that this is happening, and I'm so grateful, but I'm also freaked out because I don't know if I'm like these people at all. But I just want to do my best all the time, you know, and I want all of it. I want the costume, I want the identity. I don't know. Maybe it's stupid, but I mean, look, no offense to Pantheon, but the greatest hero who ever lived was the Moonrider. And he was the first one ever, you know? And he gave up his identity. He gave up his secret identity to be a teacher and to open the door for everything that we're doing now. It all started with him because he was a different kind of hero. So I think that just by being here and doing what you do, I mean, you're already the most heroic person I know my age. So I wouldn't worry about you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot. I get excited.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is I don't believe in it being a profession, which is crazy because I'm here. I don't believe in it being a something that you can like commodify and capitalize and on and all that. So it is a push-pull constantly.
Yeah. No, I mean, most of the heroes here, they don't make money on it. I mean, that's why we have secret identities. That's the life we chose. If I wanted that to be my job, I would have gone to the Legends Institute, you know, I would have done that. I would have had it be my whole life, you know, but it's not just about serving and protecting and stuff. Like, we have more work cut out for us because that's just what we do. At least that's how I see it, you know. I mean, if you're just in it because it's the thing that you do, then you probably shouldn't be in it, you know. Being a hero is just doing your best. Wearing a costume is doing your best, but spicy. And she steps out of the changing room wearing like the dopest outfit she's ever worn. Mm-hmm. And for a second, as the sort of light streams in, there's this moment of like seeing silhouette, seeing her resolve and her excitement and everything that has just made this team fall in love with her. It's all exemplified in this moment where she's stated to you what she believes in. And then it breaks for a second and she slumps down into her like usual posture and she goes, I don't know. I don't know if I'll get this.
I will put my hands on either side of her shoulders and like make her stand up straight and put my finger underneath her chin and lift her chin up. And I'll just say, keep this feeling.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yep. For sure. And then we over to Jeremy.
Squidward.
Oh God, what the fuck? Squidward.
Squidward. Yeah. Where does Jeremy go first?
Where does he go first? I think Jeremy just kind of stands there, and just kind of stares at like this $100 that he's given. Like just kind of standing next to BB, like even as Harriman and Silhouette walked away, and then he'll kind of just turn and look at BB and say, "I chose the wrong illusion for my face, didn't I?"
What do you mean?
I mean, it's kind of, isn't it a bit suspicious if the blind person is picking out clothes?
Oh, well, I can, help you, I guess. I don't think I'd be great at it, but I can try. And then when you get into the changing room, you can just take it off and see what you'd really look like with it on. But I've always thought that your outfits were good. Like better than many people I've seen, so
Thank you, BB. I never knew that you were such a flatterer.
I'm not traditionally, but I just like to speak the truth when I can. But do you want to just go?
Yeah, where are you thinking of hitting first?
You can see that Bailey's kind of not. She's very overwhelmed. She's looking around very wide-eyed, and she's looking into different shop windows, but you can tell she's kind of trying to not look at her own reflection in the shop windows. And I think she just picks one at random, which ends up being Cosmic M&H. And kind of like, do you want to go in that one?
Sure.
Okay, and we go in. I have things that I think that BB would pick up, but what is Jeremy looking for? Like describe to me what you want, and I'll try to like find it, and you can tell me yes or no depending on what you see. Okay.
I think I'll be very. We don't have to do that.
This
Bailey.
is a covert operation now.
He will just laugh, but then he'll just get kind of quiet and say, I don't know. It depends. Kind of feel like I'm still on the hero job, so figuring out what to wear off of it. It's a bit tricky, but why don't you go first? Maybe I'll get inspired by you.
Okay. I can do that. You see her look around, and she finally does catch herself in a mirror, and she's wearing this outfit that's pretty low key. It's basically a button-up white shirt with long sleeves, where the sleeves are buttoned up. It's buttoned up to the top, and then just jeans and boots. But she's looking at herself, and she kind of lifts up the shirt a little bit, and you see the BB belt buckle, and she kind of just takes it off and puts it in her back pocket. And then she starts looking around at all of the different options. And you see her gravitate first towards like it's baggy streetwear essentially. Like I don't think she's trying to imitate Jeremy, but it almost gets to that degree. It's almost like she's trying to imitate everyone she knows, because she first goes up to like she sees some Hawaiian shirts and goes up to that and kind of looks at herself in the mirror with them and is like no, but she goes over to like this is pretty popular in fashion right now, so I hope I described them correctly, but like almost 50s-esque bowling shirts with the stripes going vertically down, but kind of baggy. She grabs kind of like some green and like green, black, brown, and brown versions of those in the stripes. She goes over to some jeans. She only really has blue jeans, so she really mixes it up by getting black jeans.
Whoa!
I know, it's crazy. But something that matches with everything essentially. She goes over to, she sees a hoodie section and she goes over and grabs this like Pantheon-esque gray hoodie. Takes that. I'm trying to think of anything else that she would get. I'm also scrolling through fits on Google search really quick.
Oh my god, me too.
Good, okay. I figured we were on the same page.
And it's worth noting, you can afford a fair amount of stuff with $100 because
Yeah,
it's the
I mean,
future, and I'd like to imagine the future economy doesn't suck. So
Absolutely, yeah.
the prices are not horrible.
You then you see her grab like some tank tops as well, like some workout tank tops. She basically has black and white tees normally. She grabs some tank tops. And then the final kind of things that she grabs are white sneakers, and then she looks over very close to where the white sneakers are, and she sees these like Vans-esque flat top shoes, but there's just kind of a cowboy-esque star on the top of them, and she kind of grabs those. And there's something else I want to add on to, but it would be after we leave the shop.
Okay.
But yeah, she basically has like kind of baggy streetwear, a few button-up things, tank tops, jeans.
Cool.
Do you think this is good? Like all of these?
I definitely like the style. Never noticed the belt buckle before.
Oh yeah, it's from my dad. He gave it to me kind of a really long time ago, and I wear it every day. But I think this is it's something for hero me. Wait, one more thing, and then she runs over. You see just a rack of sunglasses. And she's like scrolling through them. I feel like in the future sunglasses racks are like almost digital, where it's like one of those things where you scroll through, you click it, it shows what it would look like on your face, like we were talking about.
And then they dispense.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So she scrolls through until she finds these just incredibly Clark Kent-esque. Like almost kind of horn rimmed glasses where it's dark on the top and then it's thin wire frames on the bottom. And she takes that and puts it on, and she looks at herself and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's it." And then she comes back to you still wearing the glasses.
Like the fit. I think it's great. I think you
Thank you.
nailed it.
That means a lot. Okay,
And-
now you.
And just so you know, even though I think that it would be best to advertise your heroes, and he'll say that quietly, your hero self in civilian clothing, I think you're worthy of that belt buckle.
She really doesn't know what to say to that. So she just kind of like nods and smiles, and I think she kind of wipes some sweat off of her brown. Would she say anything to that? I think she just like really broy slaps you on the back.
Oh boy, what does Jeremy do?
We can also go to another shop if you want. This is just kind of like I've heard of this place before, so I thought it might be good.
I wonder if I have an idea for what Jeremy would
Hit
pick
it.
out, but I don't even know if they would like sell it.
Mhm.
But
Do you want to go to a different shop and we can hit the one thing that I wanted to hit on the way to the other shop?
oh yeah, definitely we could do
Okay.
that.
We leave the M&H. You see
The
right
M&H.
across
The J and K.
the J and K. You see right across the way is one of those like kind of antique clothing retailers where they'll take beaten up clothing and just kind of repurpose it or whatever. And in the window is this brown tweed jacket, like suit jacket. But on the top shoulders, it has those kind of faux leather embellishments that kind of circle downward, very cowboy-esque. And she looks at it, and I think probably every store has this feature. She holds up the Pantheon sweater to that, and it kind of really nicely the hoodie drapes over the different epaulets and stuff in a really nice way. She has a few dollars left, and she's like, "Hold on, just like I gotta get that." And that's the last thing. I think she walks out wearing it too, and then we can dip off to where Jeremy wants to go.
Uh, Jeremy will just he'll go back to like the whole like hologram shop thing, and he'll like
Mhm.
look at all the shops available, and then he'll stride off for one direction, and then he'll be like, BB,
Mm-hmm.
I have a favor to ask you.
You got it. What do you need?
This is no, he would say Bailey, not BB.
Yeah. Fair enough. Bailey, yeah.
Yeah, just but he'll say, I have some things that I haven't told you
Mm.
and other people yet. And he'll just kind of like look into himself and then just take a breath and be like, Selena, Joe, Bailey. I was told these names on the day that I woke up in that warehouse. And while it's true that I wasn't making a beeline for you on that day, I did go to Moonlight partially because I was given a vision of you three in danger and told that you were about to be.
What was it, like a voice you recognized, or?
You remember when I was talking about Whistleblower?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how Whistleblower works.
Oh, that's something that we should tell everyone else. But do you want to tell them now, or we can keep it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I find that often when you try to avoid something like this, you just steer into it even harder.
Yeah.
So, I know I'm asking you an awfully big favor, but in the next few weeks, if I am unable to convince Nova to investigate my findings directly, I'm going to have to take up the mantle. And I will not ask you to get involved.
No, we'll do it with you, or at least I'll do it.
I
with you. I can't speak.
I can't do that. I already made a promise, and I can't put you all in more danger. But
No.
I need someone to know what I find. So if anything were to happen to me, you would be able to continue in my stead.
Look, JJ brought us to that house because he knew it was important for us to be involved in this. And I can't speak for the rest of the team, but whatever I can do to help. I don't want it to be picking up the mantle after you're gone. That's not what a team does, and I'm really trying to emphasize that we are a team and figure out how to work on a team. That's my whole shit right now. So whatever you need, I'll do it. And I get wanting to have someone to back you up in case things go really bad. But what if you just had people to back you up from the start and things just didn't go bad because we all did it together? You know?
Jeremy will. I'll imagine that they like go into an elevator at this point, and he'll just kind of like lean against a wall, and he'll just think for a second. And he'll say, I appreciate that a lot, but whoever's doing this has already shown that they're more than capable, or that they're willing to do anything to keep this silent. And not only this isn't just me being stubborn and doing this by myself because I have to, but they would go after the people that I care about, or they think I care about, if I were to tip my hand. So I just, for now, if you could just be my confidant.
Yeah, of course. I won't say anything to the rest of the group until you want to, but I think they would say the same thing as I did. And like, I know that we didn't really interact in the PDP because I was off doing my mom's thing, but I just know that environment as a whole was very isolating, and they made it feel like you did have to do things by yourself because no one else would do it for you. But what I've learned, even from being like at Moonlight for a few months, just a few weeks of time, you don't have to, and that's why we have these teams. But I will absolutely like respect what you want to do and not tell anyone, and I'll be there for you. But if you ever want someone to back you up on a mission, I got you.
Thank you, Bailey. And he'll put like a hand on your shoulder and kind of squeeze.
That good Christian side hug.
And
dudes being guys.
He'll go into like a store that's kind of like a, how do I describe it? It's like you have to walk for a while to get there, but it's kind of out of the way, and it's like this like neo vintage kind of store. And he'll go and he'll pick out like a doublet, and then like, you know those pants that kind of have like the crotch gap in the middle, like back in fantasies? Yeah. He'll pick out those and some pants to go underneath them, and like a traveling cloak, and then like a bag.
Sick.
And yeah, he'll pick out like a red cap with like a feather in it. Yeah, and that's his style.
You come out of the bathroom and Bailey says, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
I mean, I was just using the bathroom, but thank you.
Is that the we crossed us off on that?
Yep, absolutely. So as you all finish up your shopping, just on time, in fact, a little bit ahead of schedule, you guys are able to converge where you are meant to for your lunch appointment, for your reservation with Pantheon. And you make your way up from various locations, and you converge on up at the second level. of the like outdoor shopping mall area. This is sort of on a one of the sort of balcony outer areas, sort of a more like outdoor mall, open air kind of environment that you're now in. And you go up and you all converge and you start walking across this walkway, chatting with each other. You see the restaurant from the outside is pretty cool. It's like, it's pretty traditionally square building, but the building itself is painted this sleek sort of shimmering onyx black. And there are little rivulets of color all throughout it that glint different colors, like kind of different rainbow colors of the spectrum, as different, like as sunlight catches it in different places. And it makes this glistening, almost disco ball effect, making this particular restaurant sort of stand out from the others. And you can see that there are other people waiting outside to be called in for their reservations. And you do see that Jen is sitting out there waiting. She hasn't really seen you guys yet. You're still on the walkway. But there's a moment as you're up on the second level and you could see, people shopping and walking around and chatting, sort of low din of activity all around you. There's a moment, Jeremy, where something catches your attention in a most alarming way, because you hear your name shouted in the near distance from below by multiple voices.
He won't like obviously like immediately move there, but he'll just kind of like slowly lean over to the thing and just kind of, while looking that way, just cast his gaze down.
Can Bailey look over as well?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you look down and you hear it first.
Moving.
It's not just his name being said by these voices. What you hear are a crowd of voices, at least like 20 people, shouting, "Justice for Jeremy!" And you look down below and you see approaching underneath this walkway they're about to pass under. Some sort of march is now taking place through this area. And you see these various people all holding up signs. And you read some of the signs. One says Rose Knows, like Knows. One says Baker is a faker.
Oh my god.
Yo!
And there are a lot of images of what almost looks like a school picture in a weird sort of a way. This intense image of Jeremy's face.
Like his PDP,
Yeah,
like ID picture.
yeah, something like that. And it says "Justice for Jeremy." And as this group is marching, you hear them shouting, "Justice for Jeremy! Recall Rose! Justice for Jeremy! Recall Rose!" And as they're passing by underneath, you do notice that there are various security guards that are stationed around at key points. As you're looking around, you see there are a couple up on these balconies looking down. You see that there are ones who are down below, kind of flanking, just at key positions, just slightly ducked between corners, between alleyways, between buildings, just watching to see what goes down. None of them, from what you can see, are carrying guns. Most of them have either batons or some kind of taser. So it doesn't look like there's like a huge, like, well-to-do concern, but there is like a presence just sort of watching this unfold as this almost flash mob like appearance of this march moves through. And you hear that noise sort of fade out as they continue down and away. And there is a bit of ambient chatter from people who see it. The energy of the mall sort of changes for just a moment. And then people just go about. It's like a pin drops, and then just the mall returns to normal as soon as those voices fade out. Pantheon/Jen walks up to you guys. She stands next to Jeremy and she goes, "Well, that was unexpected."
Yeah. Jeremy, he doesn't seem necessarily like overly emotional about it. Like, I think that if you just like read his energy, like he's he's being very conservative with his reaction to that. And he'll turn to you all and say, well, isn't it great that I, Phoenix Freeman, have nothing to do with him?
It's so good. It's really good. And I think we're all really excited for Jeremy, whoever he may be. But Phoenix Freeman certainly has his own things to deal with.
God, fuck. Phoenix Freeman is so good.
It's really good.
That's an excellent name.
Pantheon snorts, and she sort of pats you on the shoulder, Jeremy, and she goes, "Yep, A+." And she looks at all your bags.
No one is any the wiser.
She looks at all of your various bags that you guys are holding, and she goes, "Looking forward to seeing the hall, you guys.
Fashion hall.
Lunch?"
Oh my God, you guys.
Fashion show at lunch.
Yes.
All right. And she leads you inside. She talks to, the maitre d' figure out front, confirms her reservation, and you guys are brought inside what looks almost like a sort of a launch pad for a ride area. Like, when you're waiting to get into Star Tours and you're in that room where there's all the doors and there are people lined up in front of each door.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you would expect for a restaurant. There are just various doors spread all throughout and people waiting to get into those specific ones.
She lied to us. We actually are going on Star Tours.
Put on your 3D glasses now.
Yeah, and there is that weird sort of energy of like, there is this glowing sort of lamp that's being suspended in an artificial gravity field that is casting light all around. So it's lit from the center, and you see all of these different paths of light leading to these different doors where people are being brought in or coming out, and new groups are being brought in, and you're led to one of those doors. He goes, "This way. The pass keys are cued to you. You will be able to manipulate the environment to your content, and you will be able to summon us at your leisure when you are ready to see our selection. Enjoy your stay." And he presses some keys and the door opens. It kind of whooshes open in a very sci-fi way.
Mhm.
And Jen smiles, this big smile, and she walks you guys inside, and the door closes behind you. And you see this really beautiful, like, sort of dining hall area. There is a rectangular table in the center that seems to be entirely composed of a screen on top, with just hard areas. Actually, no, I think it's like a, sort of a Gorilla Glass situation where you can fully eat on this, but there are placemats ready for you to put down, like when you're ready to eat. And you see that the menu is already being projected on the table, and it's scrolling through and showing images of different things that you might order. There's a very wide selection of like all kinds of different stuff, ranging from like fancy to less fancy. And there is a terminal on the table as well, with like a keypad. And Pantheon goes, "All right." And she starts indicating to you that all of the walls of this room, including the floor that you're walking on, it's all screens, and they're all black. And there's like a tink, tink, tink as you're walking on it.
Hollow deck.
And as she indicates to Selena, she goes, "So how this place works is that when you book a room here, you can program an environment into the computer. You can essentially ask for specific like specifications about the environment you want projected while you eat, including sounds and smells, and primarily images that will appear three-dimensional here, but will not, actually be." And I was thinking, Selena should have the honor of choosing where we dine today. What do you think?
Beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. Yeah. I think Haramon just like starts. I think Haramon finds the setting to switch it from like a press a button to like a spinning thing, and Selena just like a freaking goblin just spins that thing, and for a quick second it's just like all types of different things show up, and it's kind of like a strobe light, like, oh Jesus Christ, sort of effect, and then it just finally lands on like the beach, and we're at the ocean.
Cool.
Hey, yo,
Yeah.
we at the beach.
And you smell it. You're not sure how they're doing it. You do see that Joe is looking around and she's making notes. Like, sorry, lunch, paying attention. And she leans over to you and she points out the different, like, very well hidden projectors of like where the smells are being projected from and where the speakers are that making the sounds. But the acoustics in here are so advanced and cool where, like, when you hear the sound of seagulls up above, it sounds like they're at the appropriate distance from you.
Nice.
Food.
So you guys are here at this table. Looks like a big, nice table that is just sitting on the sand at the beach with these ambient sounds. And you enjoy a very pleasant lunch where you all order very delicious food, you hang out, you talk, and you reach a point where Jen raises her glass and she goes, "To Selena. May she have many more birthdays for which we can celebrate with food."
To Selena.
Here.
And Selena goes, not to break the mood or anything, but have you ever been referred to something, be it a name or something else, in your zone, your space, your area, and then you like leave that space and other strangers call you that and you're like, this doesn't feel right anymore? Yeah, how about we just stick with they them from now on?
Got it.
Locked in.
Of course. Well, on this most auspicious day for this most wondrous of occasions, oh God, I'm terrible at this. I got you something. And she pulls out of her bag this little box. Compared to Helix's one that was immaculately wrapped, it's like,
A normal human wrapped this.
There's tape. There's tape in places. It's not the best job in the world. But it is it's a box that's maybe about this big and it's like flat. It's a flatter box, like maybe like that. And she slides it across the table to you.
Is this a knife? Okay, I open it.
And you open it up and you see very distinctly a Costati hunting knife that is not like your own.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that you would know is generally reserved for someone who is like the next rank above you. You can describe what it looks like because you're going to be able to use this, and there are some stats that this thing has.
Oh shit! Okay.
But her face gets a little bit more serious as you're looking at it, and do you like pick it up and hold it at all?
Mm-hmm.
And as you do, she says, "I told you once that I had an encounter in the wilds, and that I was saved by a huntress of the Costati. What I didn't tell you is that she gave me this. She told me that she wasn't supposed to, but that she thought it was wrong that her people would never know what I had done for them. I disagreed strongly. I kind of wished I never had to go there in the first place. I know I wasn't supposed to. And she did save my life already, but she insisted and told me that someday she hoped that it would find its way back to the Costati. Now, I don't know if this is what she meant, but it felt like the time to return it. So this knife is it's a +1. So you add +1 to whatever damage you would add to it. And you find that it is extremely light in your hand. The metal that is used, it's up to you if you want it to be like the metal, because it can be.
All of the metal is the metal, except for when it's like iron and other, but everything has it in the mix somewhere somehow. So I think it's the okay. Okay, so I think Haramon's normal knife is pretty basic. It has that slate blue metal with like a wrapped red leather thing. This one, where the blade edge is, there's a gold stripe, and that's sort of I think that's what signifies that it's a rank above.
Yeah. So the main thing with this, and this is also, it's partially the weapon itself, but it's partially the stage in your training. This is sort of a soft, a character level up for you. If you are if you make a one-handed melee attack, you can functionally dual wield with this. You can make a second attack on your turn with this weapon.
Wow.
Assuming that you're not like, if you not like using your power or using your staff two-handed. But if you're using like one-handed staff thing or one other knife, you can make 2 full attacks at your like full stats, not like one is just the dice like in D&D, like it's a second attack.
Cool.
Yeah.
Haramon will just run up and hug her very, very tight and give a little smack on the cheek. And just take I don't know. Geez, you motherfuckers in this city making me feel emotions. I think Haramon just gets really wrapped up in studying it and like trying to carbon date it just by the look of it, and like, cross-referencing like what they know with how weapons evolved over time. Because if they do anything else, once again, Haramon has to do a lot of distraction, because otherwise they'll just like start crying and won't stop. But yeah, and I think Haramon doesn't say this out loud, but in their head they're like, I can't use this. I'm not this rank yet. I can't use this. So I think they start having a inner conflict of like, this is a really powerful gift, but I can't use it, but trying to hide it in the like all of it's happening really fast in the moment. And like Haramon's like, woo, okay, wasn't expecting this today. How's the soup? I think the soup's great.
Jeremy has just been like sitting there, just like sipping his root beer and like eating his calamari. Like, I do not have the context to even begin understanding this. And he'll just say, I mean, must be a really good birthday when you're given a deadly weapon, am I right?
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. I mean, that's my whole livelihood is weaponry. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Of course. Yeah. And she's a little bit like, so yeah, soup. Good soup. Yep.
We love soup on this team. That's all we eat.
All we eat is soup. No, nothing else.
No.
So as we fade out of this very pleasant lunch, we find you guys back on the mag rail, bellies very full, as well as bags full of fashion. You guys are talking and laughing, seeing this different side of Pantheon, the side known as Jen. And there's a point where
I hate that name.
you hear like a in Pantheon's pocket.
Uh-huh.
And she goes, and she picks it up, sort of looks at it idly while she's talking to you guys, kind of in the middle of a sentence. And she looks at it and she goes,
That doesn't seem like a good face.
Oh,
well, it's not a bad face. It's just not unexpected. We'll talk about it when we get back.
Okay.
It's okay. It's totally fine. Nothing. It's not the. Let's just say it's not the worst message we've gotten on our phones.
is
And
my phone finally ready?
oh, you would have gotten that before now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got that during the 3 days that we skipped. The very important 3-day time skip. Yeah. For those calendar fans, it's Thursday,
Whoa!
the 7th of July. Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah. Hormone is a Cancer. Ooh.
So the train returns to the station at moonlight, and you all step out and head back to your house that you have finished moving into, the bigger house.
Mhm.
And she steps
middle of
inside
the
with you,
street.
and she sits you all down sort of around the table. And she goes, so that message was from Fortress. She got word from Detective Asher that she's coming by early tomorrow to have a conversation. As far as Fortress was able to tell from her message, Asher is saying that she was not necessarily supposed to inform us with this much advance notice that she was coming, but she did, which is appreciated. So my best guess is that some word of Jeremy's entrance has gotten out a little bit. I would be shocked if anyone knew for sure that it was you specifically, but considering the climate, it was an expected result that, people outside the walls at that point who saw a person cast a fire dragon at the walls would get out soon. In fact, I think it took a little longer than I would have expected it to, but we can handle it. I just need to know how you want to proceed. I mean, I guess I just have to ask you bluntly. I mean, do you want to speak to Detective Asher?
Well, it's a bit rude if after all this time I denied having a conversation with her, but I don't think that I have to go and he'll put the glasses back on.
Right. I mean, we can go that route. This is where things get difficult. Continuing to hide. I mean, we can do that if you're concerned for your safety. But Fortress and I are of a mind about this, and the longer this goes on, I would fear that we're going to get some less friendly prying.
Can I ask both Pantheon and Jen, can we trust Asher?
I don't know how to answer that. I think so. She was open and honest in our last meeting. She allowed Fortress to read her emotions as she was telling us her story, and she read clean. Now, there are ways around that. Of course, people have fooled her before, but we have no reason to think that she's not being candid with us. She's broken rules for us, is actively doing that. But at the end of the day, no, I mean, you never know, right? We can only do our best. My instincts say that we can trust her, but I'm not letting my guard down.
Sorry, I think this is a question I asked in a previous episode of this season. Or this volume, have I told them about my dream?
Yes.
Okay. Um, it's just with how quickly she's like ascended the ranks, and she's put into this hyper new specific position where she's kind of directed towards us. And she was just kind of in Amberley when we showed up, or like she arrived like that. I just am worried that at some point we're going to stop dealing with the real Asher and deal with her clone. And that's when things are going to go sideways for us and specifically for Jeremy.
Well, it's an interesting theory. I mean, we know that herself and 4 others were voluntarily cloned, but of course, those individuals, it's at their discretion whether they want to step forward or not and reveal themselves. It's not information that we are privy to at this time.
I mean,
I just don't know.
in regards to tomorrow, we do know someone who has probably one of the most extensive makeup collections that I could think of. And he'll pull up his phone and hold it open to the contact information of Monarch. I bet she has ways of checking if it's makeup or prosthetics stuck on, at least.
I guess I just feel like we can't keep hiding you perpetually. The climate is only going to get worse the longer you're missing. And if you do have this information, I understand you've given us as much as you have. But I would sooner have you revealed on your own terms than have you rooted out of this place. I don't want to see it get to that point, but that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, worst case scenario, we have the arbiters knocking on our door. We have a government order asking us to hand you over. You are a person of interest in a very disturbing case, and I just don't know. I want to follow your lead, but there may come a time when we have to take actions.
I guess tomorrow Sure. I'll just talk to her as me then. I mean, you don't need to make a big show of it. Go on prestigious show, have the whole late night talk show interview, but it just slowly is just, oh hey, Jeremy's there, then I suppose that's fine.
Well, now that we have your disguise locked up here, I mean, I think we have an avenue of safety there. You'll still be able to leave here undetected. And again, if we're going to tell someone, I think Asher is our best bet. BB does bring up a good point about her clone. Maybe we wouldn't know. Maybe we should be working on that. I wonder if Quickstep can determine ways to identify. That's a dangerous road to go down.
Well,
Identifying every person who comes through these doors is, I don't know.
What if I could get something from Silencer when we go meet with her? Like a drop of her blood or something for Quickstep to run tests on against my DNA to see if there's anything that can be identified as like a clone's genetic material.
Well, we already have a bit of her blood from the crime
Fair.
scene.
I forgot about that.
So part of this meeting tomorrow, I'm hoping, will be discussing a little bit of quick steps analysis in more detail. I understand that she's made a little bit more progress and then hit a wall. Having an open pipeline for now, with at least Detective Asher, I think may be a good idea. For now.
You'll see Jeremy kind of like squint his eyes and kind of like curl up his lips just real quick. Just real quick.
Do you want us to like be with you in the room, Jeremy?
Oh, I was assuming that we were all going to be there together.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just want to make sure. Yeah, we'll be there.
put someone as handsome as me in a room alone with someone who knows what could happen.
Huh.
Well, keep that energy. That I think that helps immensely. All right. Well, if you change your mind, let me know. I'm not about to put you into a situation that is going to put you in danger. I meant what I said, that you'll be safe here. Fortress did too. So I'll swing by in the morning and we'll walk over together. And I'm sorry to have this conversation on your birthday. It seems a little bit of a downer, but
Fine.
all right. Well, I'll leave you guys to have your own celebratory evening. I did my part. So I'll see you in the morning. And she looks over to BB specifically, presumably having, talked about the clothes that you got a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as she passes you by, she sort of cups your arm a little bit. And she goes, I think that was your best work yet. And she leaves.
Ooh, yeah. I don't think you see anything on BB's face, but if you were in the room, you could feel her energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, maybe you see her shoulders kind of relax a little bit. I think that's what you see.
Silhouette, after Pantheon leaves, Silhouette leans forward in her chair, having not said anything during that entire exchange. And she goes, I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I still don't trust Asher.
I'm right
fully.
there with you. Yeah. No, why was she and Amberly so quick?
Well, she said that the voice talked to her too, which that's cool that the voice is like, we have a connection to her that we don't to other people, I guess. But I mean, just because we all got the same creepy voice in our head doesn't make us friends. I mean, it makes us friends. Other stuff makes us friends. But I mean, that
it doesn't mean we should trust her just because we're getting info from the same mysterious place.
Right. I mean, we still don't know who that voice is, or if they. Asher said he.
I'm also interested in the shadow aspect of all this. It doesn't, I can't pin down if it wants to help us or hurt us. Like,
exactly.
Jeremy, you said it led you to places and stuff. But then when we were fighting Silencer, it stopped Pantheon from helping us. So what is it? What is...
And why did it lead us into the forest?
Yeah.
We only know two people with shadow powers. One is Teatro and one is Dr. Guest, and we explored both of those avenues already.
Dr. Guest has shadow powers?
Yeah, didn't we cover that? He can, he's got his, I can see everything thing, but
What?
he can teleport between... Oh, you don't know any of this. Right.
No.
So he's got a lot going on. I don't actually
not
know if
just
I should be
British.
telling you this, but he told us, so I'm just gonna assume we can tell Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like this weird like passive telepathy thing, he says, and he sees like he had this whole like, oh, the future is a dinner table thing. And so he sees like potential futures. But it's not, that simple. It's like a passive telepathy thing that allows him to see what people might do based on what they've already done, and it intersects into one big picture. But the crazy thing is, he said that the point at which we went to go fight Silencer, he couldn't see after that, and he still can't. His power is functionally no longer working.
Did we establish that that was in general or just when it related to us? Did we figure that out?
Well, he said it. It seemed like he meant that
In
that's his
general.
whole thing. That's what he does here at the school.
But no.
for everyone.
Can he can no longer see stuff that pertains to us, but is it only for us? Like if he looked at, I don't know, if he watched Team Fulcrum, does it still work? I don't know if we ever
I mean, I
established
assumed
that.
he meant everything, but it's worth asking if we see him again. When we'll see him again, he's around. We can ask him about that. I mean, if you guys remember, like do you remember when Backtrack said he materialized out of the forest? Like that's the thing. That's his other power. He can teleport between areas of shadow. So that's how he got there so quickly as well. But again, he was there that night. But again, we know why he was using his power. I think we trust Dr. Guest, right? So we could ask him, like, we didn't really spend a lot of time talking about like the shadow power thing. So I guess we could try that. But that's sort of, I feel like, barking up the same tree as like when we were trying to figure out JJ's deal and asking Solar Flare because he knows about fire. Although I guess that was helpful.
Can I
don't know.
throw something out there that I think I might have just put together, but I'm not sure if there's anything in it. The fire, when we were drawn into the forest, we were taken away from JJ and weren't able to meet him. The information that the shadow person led you to, Jeremy, was all about JJ, right? And like the cloning process and all that.
Yeah.
And then when we were in Amberley, JJ had already, right, like, by the time that Pantheon was in the room, JJ had been taken out by Silencer. But maybe JJ is the one thing that connects all of these, so I don't know. Maybe that's just coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know, because
I don't think that JJ was involved in that. I just am wondering if someone's trying to draw us to JJ, or in case of the last instance, like, keep us from getting any information from JJ after he had passed on.
You say that JJ was already dead by the time that Pantheon showed up, and they fought Pantheon, the Shadows?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, might as well just... It wouldn't make... Because...
Yeah.
I mean, I have theories about what exactly they're trying to do. One of them is not only just giving powers to other people, but giving multiple powers. And from what it sounds like that your clone was a lot more stable than my clone.
Yeah, it seems like that.
I think it might be. My power can do two different things. I can create fire and he'll make a small flame. And then he says, and then I can manipulate it, and then he'll like change it into a shape of a butterfly. Maybe there's something to that powers that can do multiple things mess with the cloning process, whereas multiple powers into one person is a lot easier to do.
Huh. That's interesting.
That's
I mean,
super
that's as good as
interesting.
any other theory we have.
And I don't think that this adds anything right now, but JJ wasn't aging faster than you, right?
Um, he was, right? He was.
No, he was your same age.
Oh,
And he didn't
no.
age, he just deteriorated.
Yeah, he was just spinning out of control. He wasn't aging faster than me.
Silencer is older than me, like by a few years. I don't know. I don't think there's anything we can pull on that now, but I think that kind of difference between the two cloning processes might be important as well at some point.
I think that for tomorrow, at least, the thing that we should focus on the most is why Asher was promoted if she's the one that was like investigating against all this. Is this just a play and a trap that we're all falling into? Or it might also be possible that she was promoted out of the way. Give her a better office, but give her more responsibilities and then less resources to continue the investigation.
I think
Like
that's what I want to look into tomorrow when we talk to her. If anything, that's a reason to be honest, because I think that she knows more, or at least if she knows things that she doesn't know, maybe there's something there with her, I think, and or at least with the things that she gave Fortress on that drive, the information that she's gathered and all the stuff that was happening out, like powered people being kidnapped, presumably by Silencer all those years ago, out by no one's highway. These are things that these are so far away from us that we don't have really a way to look into, but maybe somebody should be. I mean,
do you have like a manuscript of all the things that you talked about the first time she was here?
I mean, I took notes. I took notes, but I don't have the files. Those went to Fortress.
If I could, I'd like to review the notes if possible.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
So yeah, Jeremy, you get the Silhouette sits down with you and lets you rifle through all of those things, and you learn all of the information. I don't know if you want me to reiterate it to you right now, all of that stuff, because it is in that episode, which I know you watched a billion times, but
just briefly, because it has been a little bit since I
from me as well, please.
Yeah. Functionally, Asher said that she volunteered for the program. She was recommended by Albert Rose, who is still the assistant director of First City's division of AID, which is the Allied Investigations Division, functionally the FBI. And she believed in that it was a good idea, that it was good for the program. She had kind of a minor superpower. Her power is that she has really good hearing. So she volunteered herself for the program on his recommendation. She was informed that the program was not successful, that the clones were perfectly stable, but they did not develop powers, which was the purpose of the experiment, to see if they would develop the same power that the person who was cloned would, and they didn't. So beyond that, she purposefully put up a wall, didn't want to know what was going to happen to the clones after that point. But during that time, she got that voice that she calls the source in her head, telling her that that super-powered people, specifically like kids, young adults, had been taken out in the small villages out near No One's Highway, which is very far from here. It's out on the continent, and is a very dangerous place that is not a part of Alma at all, government-wise. So she went there to investigate and found that it was indeed true. She heard a couple of stories of a figure in black coming in the night and taking people. And she found one of those people was a young girl who claimed to have escaped a facility that Albert Rose was overseeing. she gave a description of, presumably gave a description of like Albert Rose that matched. And she said she was willing to testify and work with Detective Asher to expose this fact. But she was found dead with a hole between her eyes, almost left out for Asher to find. When she returned, essentially Albert Rose told her, like, get off this case. We'd have no jurisdiction out there. You're going to get us in trouble. You can't do this. And Asher was functionally disgraced in that court environment and relegated to kind of a Detective Mulder situation, kind of a like pencil pusher. You're just the wacky conspiracy theorist who tried to get us all to hate your boss with no evidence. So that was her life for a while. But then when the fire in Amberley happened, she saw that the voice directed her to that article that was written by Amy Magden. She went to Amberley to investigate and talked to Amy Magden, learned a little bit about your family being that family. And then she functionally told Amy Magden, don't report on this. Like, stop reporting on this. You could die if you keep doing this. And then she was directed to, again by the voice, directed to Decker's, where you were there getting answers just at the right time for you to be asking for someone to help, someone to get your story out. And that's when the meeting was arranged. And you were on your way to that meeting, and that was the last thing that you remembered before you woke up 6 months later. So that was kind of the end of her story. She went to go meet with you because she was directed to go find you at Decker's.
All right. And it was, I woke up 7 months after that meeting was
No, it's
was
about
set up, right?
It's about 6, I think.
Wasn't there like a month of like just training last season?
Yes, but I think that factors into the 6.
You're right.
Yeah.
Math.
Which is why I'm a little more inclined to trust Asher, because she was disgraced once and she's still doing the same thing. It would have to be a really long con to have this like be Asher's clone or something, or like, or she's trying to like play us all. Like, it would have to be a really long thought out thing. I'm more inclined to think that she's genuine and she's trying to figure it out.
And to be fair, it's not much of a promotion. She's still just a detective. She's just now a liaison to us, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeremy might be onto something.
Yeah.
I think maybe they're just trying to keep her away,
Yeah,
keep her busy.
I can say that now. Guess we'll find out tomorrow.
Guess so. Hey, whatever happens, we've got each other. And all these rad clothes.
Do you want to do any other birthday things, Lena?
No, I think I'm okay.
Do we want to train?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys spend some time training together in your now larger outdoor area.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that. And after a while, you have dinner together, try to break some of this tension. And then later that night, we pan up, we turn the page over to shortly before Selena is going to go to bed, as they have an appointment for a video call. And we see sort of from a distance, Selena with their laptop open with faces that we've seen before in this similar environment. We've seen the hunting squad of the Costati with the green-skinned leader who is directing the conversation. We don't really hear what's being discussed, but we see them, laughing together and talking. And Just as we start to pull away, as the lights dim, we begin to move to the next page, the next chapter in this story. We hear them all speak something together. And all at once, that whole squad says.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, you see Haramon from the back talking to them on a video screen, but directly to their right, there is another panel hovering that has a finished but not sent preliminary report. And sort of the cursor is sort of blinking still. And so we see them, and you see Haramon pull out sort of like a pearl rosary that sort of, and they're holding it clutched in their hand. And they're not saying an our Father, I almost said all Father, and our Father, our Father who art in Valhalla. And they're sort of, holding it, and they're, moving it like you would a rosary. And as they do that, they sort of all in unison say together, "Where you are is temporary. Nothing is permanent. Move past your grief, but do not forget it. Judge those deserving with the gentleness of an iron hand. Do not waste what the earth has provided us. Care for your siblings, as we all have our role to play, and stay ever watchful of the stars."
Damn.
And then you sort of see Selena clutching the rosary really hard, and saying their goodbyes, for the call. And they look over at the scale with the completely burned out wick of the tea light. And they close out the video call, and they bring the preliminary report in front of their face, and they hit send, and it cuts to black.
Oh, I want to know.
We turn the page to an external shot of the sun rising up over, behind the new house Pantheon. The birds chirping, flying overhead. A single one lands on the roof as Pantheon knocks on the door. And you open it. There's a moment of silent sort of acknowledgement of what's happening. You square yourselves and make your way together in the early morning light across the still quiet, sleepy campus over to the administrative building, through the lobby into the elevator, and up to Fortress's office. You step inside, where you see Fortress sitting at her desk with the window like in its blank mode, and it's not a window mode. She's not wearing her costume today. Fortress is wearing a pantsuit with like a little red heart pin, I think, on the lapel. And she's sitting with her hands sort of folded. Asher is once again taking her spot, seated at the side of the table. There are chairs for all of you, and she's seated at the side of the table. You see again the tan-skinned woman with the very curly, dark brown hair, a scar across the bridge of her nose, very sharp, pointed features, and her trademark long tan overcoat that she wears with that belt that's sort of dangling along either side of it. And she and Fortress are sort of making small talk, but as you knock and you open the door, you see that Asher stands, and she looks at you guys. Jeremy, are you Jeremy right now?
He is, but he has the hood up and the bandana over his face, so you could only see his eyes, and his hat on, of course.
Okay. Would you want to make an opposed check of disguise?
What would I roll for that?
So I think it's willpower because what you're doing is projecting that you're a different person.
Ooh, that's kind of good, but kind of ass, but really good. All right, I got 6s and like a 1 and a 2. So like I either like crushed it or rolled like ass. 6 out of 5.
6 out of 5. I only rolled 1 out of 4. So
I'm cracked.
yep. So as she stands up, firstly, she barely even notices you. You're sort of blending into the group. And she looks to Pantheon, she looks to the group at large, and she goes, "Hello again. I'm so sorry to have dragged you here so early and on such short notice. I did what I could to give you notice that you weren't supposed to have. Please sit. It's good to see you again." And Pantheon walks over to you, and Pantheon actually reaches out to shake her hand. And they nod to each other. The door closes behind you, and as you start to sit, she finally does notice Jeremy, and she goes, "Oh, hello. I'm sorry. I'm so rude. I didn't realize you had a new member of your team. I'm Detective Blaine Asher with the Allied Investigations Division, and also, I guess, the liaison to Moonlight Academy now, which is
Shane
new."
Shillelagh, nice to meet you.
She looks to Pantheon
Holy shit.
and Pantheon goes, this is and Pantheon is a little confused because she thought that this is not what she thought was going to happen. So she's like, "This is the newest member of our team, late entry for sure, but he's clear to be here." And she goes, "Very well. I leave that at your discretion."
Before he sits down, he will just like slowly like remove from his pockets like the makeup remover and like the magic gum remover and look at the rest of Team Pantheon and be like, are we gonna test this or no?
Why not?
Again, it would be the longest con.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
But safe than sorry. I mean, she could have been replaced recently.
Hey, Detective Asher.
Yeah.
Can we ask you for a favor really quick?
Sure. What?
I know this is hyper suspicious. It's just a lot of things have been very weird lately in Cloak and Dagger, and we're not really sure how to deal with it. Could we just like try this makeup disguise remover on you really quick to make sure you're you?
And she looks over to Fortress, and Fortress goes, and she goes, "Sure."
It's a part of our education, you know?
No, yeah, I respect it, actually. I respect the diligence. We do have a lot to discuss, so... Well, we have a bit to discuss, so I would prefer that you feel as secure here as you can.
We do the thing.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you fossil
Whatever
brush
this
her
is.
face,
Yeah.
I guess. And there's nothing that, like, she's not a person who wears a lot of like makeup in general. There's maybe a little bit around her eyes, but you don't. There's like the scar doesn't come off. Nothing comes off.
We're like a fucking ASMR channel. We're just
Yeah. And she just sits there for a moment. And as you guys are doing this, Fortress goes, "Well, I'm glad to see that your investigative skills are coming along."
I don't think Fortress needs to use her powers to feel the like Jesus Christ energy coming off of Haramon.
Once it's done, Jeremy will look over to Haramon and like just be like, "Well, you can never be too careful," and take out the hood and the mask, and then sit down.
Yeah.
So what happens as you do this is that Detective Asher stands with such force it looks like she was ejected from her chair. The chair scoots back so hard that it actually clatters, like, down. She goes, Um,
Yes, I know I'm good looking, but please calm yourself. There are people around.
Pantheon stands as well and starts to walk over, but Fortress goes like this, and she goes over and she puts a hand on Asher's shoulder, and she goes, Detective Asher, we would like you to meet our new friend, Jeremy Johnson. She takes a step closer. I'm sorry, and she braces herself down on the desk. And you can see that she's tearing up. Jeremy, I'm so sorry. I wanted to help you. I thought that I could help you. I'm sorry. This isn't the time for this. I just I mean, is it rude of me to ask, are you all right? Where have you been?
Well, I'm not all wrong. So I suppose I should apologize. It's rude to miss your meeting when you oversleep.
I don't understand.
I don't either, but apparently I've been in like a stasis for 6 months.
She immediately starts writing stuff down on her pad.
I missed Easter. I was gonna catch that rabbit this time.
Holy shit.
Mr. Johnson, I must say.
Please, Mr. Johnson is what they called my father. Call me Jeremy.
Jeremy, I must say that you are not at all what I expected.
Right? Right. Yeah. Same.
I hope that's not too rude to say. You all should know, and she sits back down. Only now does she realize that she's the only person still standing. And she sits back down, and she goes, the primary reason I came here is because they sent me as liaison to check out stories that are coming out of here. We've heard tell that there was some incursion into the wall of it, for getting into the Hero Campus, that someone cast some massive dragon fire thing at the wall, and of course any hint of you, it draws our attention. But I didn't think for a second that it was actually you. That I just assumed that it was some other, either a villain trying to break through or another student. But at no point did I ever think that I was actually going to come here and see you today. I mean, of course, no one outside these walls knows that you're here, right?
I hope not. For in God's name, I hope not.
As happy as I am to see you here, this does complicate things. I still don't know who to trust within Alma right now. And if anyone finds out that you're here, I'm not sure what the safest route is going to be. Now, I'm supposed to report back as to whether or not I found you here. And frankly, I have a sneaking suspicion that the reason that they sent me here in the first place is to test my loyalty, because I half expect that they expect that I would try to keep you secret.
Jeremy wants to check if she's being sincere about that.
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
What do I roll for this?
Could I also?
Yeah.
Willpower?
Will the power.
Thank God for insight level 2. Ew, never mind. Thank no one.
0 successes.
4
3 out
out of 3.
3 out of 5.
Yeah. On 0, you really don't know how to read this at all, but both of you detect nothing but sincerity and raw emotion. You see someone trying to balance a very highly calculating mind, trying to piece together details and form some sort of plan with a bubbling emotion and sorrow and joy all just sort of confusingly mixing together that she's trying to keep down so that she can do her job right now.
I mean, if you want, I haven't introduced myself. All you people think that I am this person called Jeremy Johnson, but I introduced myself as Shane Shillelagh. So, I mean,
what you do with your secret identity, if that's what you're doing. I mean, if you're enrolled in this school, then you are protected somewhat, technically. But where it gets complicated is that you are a person of interest in this case. If it's discovered that you're here, it could come down the pipeline an actual order for you to cooperate, or at least to bring you in for questioning. At that point, you don't have to answer questions, but I might not be able to stop that from happening.
I mean, the balloon's gonna pop, and at some point, some way, somehow. I don't personally see anything wrong with letting whoever you answer to know that he is here and I'm looking at Fortress, because it's gonna come out eventually. And if the more it seems like we're hiding him, the more it gives the government ammo to play a little rougher. At least that's what I've been sort of gathering from all these conversations we've been having.
Fortress sits back and she goes, I have come to a similar conclusion. However, Jeremy's safety is still my number one priority. That only comes into question when the safety of everyone at this school is thrown into question. And I don't foresee that happening. I mean, forgive me, but it would, I believe, be veering toward conspiracy thinking to believe that the government would launch some all-out assault on this school just to get at one person of interest for questioning, especially considering that public opinion out there has largely swayed in the direction of I don't mean to insult you, Jeremy, but they see you as a victim. They see the presentation that we made, for better or for worse. They've taken that to heart.
But what about, like, wouldn't I be just as much of a person of interest as Jeremy? I have a clone sitting in Blackstone right now. It's Blackstone, right? Not Blackrock.
Yeah.
I have a clone sitting in Blackstone right now. That's, like, still alive. I know that Jeremy and JJ were at kind of the center of this unfolding conspiracy here and all that, but
I mean,
my clone actually killed people, you know?
I mean, look at it this way, BB. The only way that they would know that is if they were involved in cloning you.
Yeah.
That was Pantheon. Fortress goes, Jeremy's right. Everyone knows his name, his face, and his story. You are only known to the people in your life. You're not a public figure now, and all of those individuals can account for your whereabouts for the past 6 months. We can't say that for Jeremy.
Well, let's say they order Jeremy to come in for questioning, how much wiggle room really do you have to protect him in that space? I mean, best case scenario, I would imagine, is they agree to allow a Nova member or another recognized and trusted hero to be with him at all times and not questioned alone, sort of like a right to attorney, but with one of Moonlight's. Do you think that's something that is, but I guess, how dire does the situation seem to you?
If we're talking pure legal, then no, we have no leeway if they have the proper documentation and orders to bring Jeremy in for questioning. He would have the same rights as anyone in that situation, of course. However, if we're going beyond legal and into what I'm willing to do, that's a different story, and that's something I'm still working on. But if I see a direct threat, the fact that whoever has done this may be lying in wait within the government, that clouds everything. I'm not interested in fighting the government, but I'm interested in fighting the people who are turning these wheels. Right now, that could be the same thing, and we have no way of knowing. Asher goes, that's exactly what I'm worried about. And that's something I'm trying to deal with. As I said, I think that this position, if you want to call it that, is just to sort of keep me distracted. Again, public opinion is a hell of a thing. And right now I am in favor, having been very much not that recently. I can attest to the fact that that pendulum can swing at the drop of a hat. So I don't put a lot of stock in that. But while we have it, that is something that can work to our benefit. Now, I am being kept from this case for obvious reasons. Legally, it's completely fair. I understand. It's frustrating as all hell, but I understand. I mean, I have a personal stake in it, a very directly personal stake in it. So it can't be me.
But what if Jeremy made the terms? You said everyone thinks he's a victim right now. If he shows up and is like, I'm here and willing to work with you, government, but here are my terms.
I think that could be very wise.
Not only does it get ahead of any snakes in the grass who would try to spin this situation to our detriment, but it would also, if the public knows that the people at Moonlight are helping this person that they see as a victim, and this victim trusts the people at Moonlight, it would make it harder for the government to fuck us over, I guess, or fuck you guys over. I'm not really I'm just spitballing.
If we could do something kind of like the Prestige thing, but maybe just like a video of Jeremy talking.
We could,
I'm
if
not
that's
saying
the
that
route
might work.
if that's the route you want to take, we could do that. There is also privacy to consider. We could go the public route, but you say that Jeremy is now enrolled. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about you like you're not here. I'm just so used to you not being here. If you're officially enrolled in this academy, if you have a hero name, an identity that is verified by Fortress to be enrolled in this academy, and we have the documentation to back that up, then you're protected by the same thing that protects all heroes and heroes in training in terms of their identities in legal situations. They would have to make some serious amendments to get rid of those protections. So if you wanted to handle this discreetly in your hero persona, you would be allowed to do that, and the public would not have to be involved at all.
I think Harmon under their breath just sort of is like, yeah, they certainly seem like they're trying to make some amendments, huh? Looking at Fortress.
Fortress furrows her brow.
If that goes through, shocking to her. If what we know that they're talking about goes through all the way, worst case scenario, and we haven't acted with Jeremy before that happens, they could just do that to him.
Asher looks at you guys and goes, "What are you talking about?"
What are we talking about?
Where did we get this info from again?
Your mom.
I'm
sorry, that was your mom.
Your
mom.
mom.
Got this info from your mom. I probably shouldn't say this, but no, if she doesn't want me to say it, then I should say it. There's my mom and Haramone and Silhouette and I all had this kind of lunch meeting, and she revealed to us that there is legislation which is trying to be kind of rushed through the system that would make it permissible for psychically obtained evidence to be used in an investigation, even if the person wasn't aware that the information had been obtained from them.
Or non-consenting.
Non-consenting, yeah, that's what I meant.
Her fist tightens again, and you've seen her do this before, where it looks like she's about to make her palm bleed. She goes, "This is news to me," which is in itself not surprising. Not the kind of thing that I would be privy to in the first place, but I mean, that's a little unthinkable to me. I can't imagine that President McDuffie would be okay with that. I doubt that her.
But I don't know why my mom would tell us that if it wasn't. What a
True.
weird thing to lie about,
I mean, her role in all of this is still in question as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the obvious choice. It doesn't mean she's the right choice. But the fact of the matter is, if her research did get taken, it was her research. So it starts with her somehow. There is something. There is a connection there, but it's not one that I can get close to, at least not officially. Now, unofficially, I do have a couple of things that I can tell you about.
Yeah.
I love dirt. I love me some dirt.
Some
Love
dirt.
rolling around in that dirt.
That dirt. What
Now-
day is it? It's the 14th?
It's Friday now, yeah.
So the 8th?
Oh, I meant in real life.
Oh, in real life.
Oh,
I see.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
She goes, "Now, they may be keeping me from this investigation, but that doesn't mean I don't still have friends in some convenient positions. In this case, medical. I have been keeping tabs somewhat on the analysis of," she indicates to Jeremy, "of your duplicate's body. And the information that I've been able to, well, the information that I was gifted by a friend who is working in that field and on this particular case. Her analysis revealed that, by all accounts, physically, there was no logical reason for his body to have deteriorated the way that it did. His cellular structure was perfectly stable. Where the trouble started seemed to be his mind, more specifically his brain. It seemed as though the epicenter was his memory center. It was, in layman's terms, vastly overheated, like something forced in where it didn't belong. It spread like an infection through his neurons across his brain until his body wasn't able to function. Essentially, his brain boiled his body alive, in a sense. Now, what could have caused something like that and why it started in the memory center of all places, I couldn't say. Based on the video, you've spent time with him. You knew him in a way that none of us did. And I imagine that's the primary reason why you are wanted for questioning. Getting to the heart of what he was and why he was made. Forgive me being crude with that phrasing, but those are the keys that I believe, that we all believe, could unlock this case, or at least the next step in it. And if you're willing to discuss anything that you know about him, this would be the time.
Like the usual like playfulness in Jeremy, like in his face, is just gone. And you just see like this laser sharp vision. And as he makes eye contact with Detective Asher, he'll just ask, so you know where Jeremy's body is? I mean, you know where JJ's body is.
Where he's being kept? I mean, there are a few places that could be. My friend on the inside was kind enough to provide this information, but even that has its limits. And I don't want to push those limits if I want to continue having these pipelines open to me. So no, I know a few places. I know the basic list that he's probably on one of, but I couldn't tell you exactly where. Best I can tell, they're keeping that pretty close to the chest.
He'll just whisper a curse to himself, and then he'll say, JJ, he was a lot. He was like me, put in a container that was too small for him. I don't know. And he'll just kind of like lose his train of thought.
As you do, Asher says, at your own speed. But I do want to bring up that you said in your video message that he was made to believe that he was you.
Yeah.
Did he tell you anything about that? What the first thing that he remembers was?
What's the first thing that you remember?
The first thing that I remember?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? In general? My first memory on this Earth? Not Earth, planet?
Mm-hmm.
That would be something involving childhood. Why do you ask?
Play along with me.
And now you get something guarded.
Or not. I'll play with myself. That sounded wrong. So, my first memories, I was very young. I was in a crib. My parents had just put me to bed, and they went off to their own room. and I was looking up at a constellation on my ceiling. That's my first memory. My next memory, I was a bit older. Only thing I remember of that one is I was walking, then I fell, and then I hit my head. JJ's memories were all the same, but they weren't complete.
So you're telling me that whoever made him somehow gave him fragments of your memory?
That's what it seemed like. It seemed like they were trying to give it all, but they were too proud to take it slow.
And going back to your video again, the files that you were shown, given by the source, they gave no indication of who might have done this?
I mean, everything that I learned was on those things, so your guess is as good as mine.
It's worth noting I haven't heard from the source since I was directed back to the house that night when you defeated the silencer. The fact that Jeremy, the fact that we've both heard that voice, I need to know who he is.
Well,
And I need to know if he's on our side.
I mean, one, it hurts my soul that you're just calling it the source. Like, it's so plain and unimaginative.
You have something better?
Yeah, whistleblower.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Also, what if whistleblower isn't a person? What if there was something like an AI?
With telepathic ability?
Sounds like
That's a
science
stretch.
fiction, but I assure you, it may or may not be science fact.
Silhouette goes, I mean, robot with superpowers, cool idea, not supported by science. But I mean, you never know. It's possible. I mean, the librarian is, but well, he's not really.
Can't knock knock like astral project into robots?
Yeah.
But that's still knock
Yeah.
knock doing it.
I mean, it was thought to be impossible to copy and paste someone else's memory, wasn't it?
Pantheon goes, well, yeah, and we have to continue to work from that hypothesis until we understand exactly how it was done. Which brings me back to the question of investigating. I know it may sound distasteful, but that notion of having Dr. Mary investigate that missing 6 months, it's looking more and more appealing to me. But I would never subject you to that if you weren't willing. I don't know if you'll get that offer if this law passes.
Let's just say that if this law passes and they try. Ooh boy.
Fortress crosses her arms very distinctly, and she tightens her jaw and she says, even not in her costume, projecting the energy of the hero Fortress, and she says, I refuse to believe that the people of this city would ever allow something like that to pass. And I will not stand for it. There are times when what we do transcends law. And Asher, there's a moment where Asher kind of like goes on a journey. Finally, she releases that tension in this sigh. She rubs her chin and she looks at Fortress and she goes, I understand the sentiment, but we express it, particularly you express it outside of this room. I wouldn't blame people being scared to hear that coming out of your lips. And that realization does come over Fortress's face, and she goes, I understand. That's the fine line that we have always walked and will always walk as long as we're allowed to do what we do. We need to be careful. Every step we take is about to ripple through this entire world. And we need to be ready for that.
I don't mean to bring up one other kind of fine line that we're tiptoeing around, but I mean, Detective Asher, I'll say this just for myself. I don't know if it's smart to trust you yet. I've heard a lot of evidence towards that, so I trust the people I trust's opinions. But another thing that my mom offered was a meeting with Silencer. Private. No cameras, no recordings. With my team. But probably not Jeremy, because, bringing him into a government building would be bad unless we had already gotten him cleared. But if this meeting does happen, which I'm not saying it will, are there any questions that you'd want us to ask or any information that we could get for you?
Well, if it's true that the Silencer was a part of this even before, if she was the one who was taking those kids from those settlements, that would make her one of the first, at least the first successfully powered duplicates that we're aware of here. Before JJ, but after mine, if I understand the timeline correctly, and I think I do, I would want to know who she was working for, if she was working alone. Where did she bring those kids? Why did she choose them? Did she choose them? When I was investigating the Stonekeep settlement, I was doing it outside the radar. I mean, we're not strictly allowed to be investigating in those areas so far from Alma jurisdiction and so close to no one's highway. I'm sure you understand the dangers present in being anywhere near there. And the people there, they're hardened. They're used to dealing with these gangs. And frankly, Alma and Nova alike do nothing for them. We're alike in that regard. They didn't trust me. It was pulling teeth to get the information I did get. The kids who were taken, I don't know what their powers were, if they even had them. The young girl that I spoke to, the one who claimed to have escaped, the one that I believe the Silencer killed and left for me, She said that she only escaped because she followed her shadow. But she didn't know if she didn't know if she had powers. But she had no family beyond the tight-knit community of those places where wandering souls gather to feel safe and build something their own away from any government. Her name was Kate. And if I were allowed to go back there to learn more, I mean, the facility she claimed to have escaped from, I checked it out. It was the last thing that I was able to do before I was discovered and not allowed to return. It was just a bunker, a shelter that presumably the people of Stonekeep had built themselves for emergencies to hide out from the gangs. If it was being used, and I believe it was, then it was cleared out very quickly. I would like to see someone go back there, finish the investigation that I couldn't. But getting those people to talk about their own is hard. They don't trust outsiders, and for good reason, particularly not government or you all. I just wish I knew someone who... I just wish I had someone on the inside who knows those people. I think that's the only way they'd ever talk to any of us.
I give
I might
Vivi a
know
look.
someone who
Jeremy-
could help us.
Jeremy is gonna like kind of just look at BB and just put a hand on her arm and just be like, just give her a look of like, let's play this card very carefully.
Oh, yeah. There might be someone who would help us, but I don't know if that's something she would be interested in. I think BB would have actually said they instead of she, just to try to keep it a little bit more anonymous.
Well, I won't press. I understand your point about trust is well heard. I believe that I trust everyone in this room. I want to trust everyone at the school. Certainly more than I trust the institution that is currently hiding elements that they may or may not even be aware of. But my whole involvement in this, my volunteering for the program in the first place, stemmed from a mistrust, frankly, of people like you who chose to operate independently. I was afraid. And that fear, it warped, and I watched it warp other people into something that I realized only too late that I didn't want to be. So you don't rush trust. But if that's an avenue that you can explore, whether I'm a part of it or not, the answers are out there somewhere in that desert. And I can't be the one to get them. It's hard to let that go. That's all the information that I have. I would like to keep an open line, but my last question for all of you, but mostly for you, Jeremy, is when I walk back into the AID facility and make my report, what did I see here today?
A team of 4 incredibly attractive young superheroes to be. Just, my goodness. Oh, so pretty and handsome.
Got it.
Well, I mean, calm down. Gee, jokes, people. What did you see? You saw me. You saw me. I was here.
Then I never mind. Don't. Got it. That's not where I thought you were going with that. And Fortress immediately looks to you and she says, Jeremy, are you sure? I don't want you to feel like you have to do this now.
BB will also cut in and be like, what if we got like that video out first or something? I mean, like, if you don't want to do the video, we don't have to do the video, but
I mean, I'll be expected to make
them.
my report immediately when I return. There's no delaying that. I can't just say,
Yeah.
hold on, give me a few hours. So if you're going to do something like that, it would have to be immediate. But I'm perfectly happy to tell them that I didn't see you. But I'm just as happy to tell them that I did. I just can't promise you what's going to happen after I do that.
I mean, I feel like making it clear that he's enrolled in the school and actively training on a team now would do just as much as making a video to put out, at least for your officials.
Fortress, she steeples her hands together and she goes, well, the documentation is all in order to officially enroll you. It's just a small matter of formality for finalization. You're going to need a name.
A name. Jeremy will sit back and he'll look at Asher and he says, you think this is like some sort of form of loyalty test, right? See if you're one of them or an enemy, right?
I don't know if it's that black and white, but my focus has not shifted from Albert Rose, who I still answer to, and the awkwardness of that is not lost on me. Considering public opinion, well, I have a strong suspicion that he won't be in his office too much longer, at least for the duration of the investigation. Is he testing me? Is someone else testing me to see where my loyalties are? I think it's very possible.
In that case, I think I'd rather have you closer to them than apparently closer to us. We need to figure out who. We need to have a trail to trace back to who the original is, so doing this seems like a pretty good first step.
Well, that makes sense. I will say, if I walk in there with, if I walk in that room with something else to call you, legally, the name Jeremy can't leave that building.
Ooh, 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 ooh. What's that hero name, boy?
Not sure this is my hero name, but I guess you could call me Igneous for now. That's what I've stuck with, but I wanna be clear that I don't think that's my hero name.
Fortress nods. She goes, for the purpose of document, it doesn't matter what you choose right now as long as it's something. Doesn't mean we can't change it later when you figure some things out. A good name, you can't rush it.
Well, looks
Igneous
like
it is.
Igneous Hero of Justice is back.
She reaches into her drawer and she pulls out some of the documentation that you saw briefly in that meeting before, but you see that there is a space for you to sign to have your signature on record. And she slides it over for you to sign the name Igneous.
he'll do so, but in like the G, he'll make like the G look like an I, like an I, not an not an I
Yeah.
I.
Not
No.
Aeneas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I understand. And you slide it back over, and Pantheon goes. And just like that, they can't touch you. Although, we all know, between all of us here, that was already the case.
Thanks, Mom.
Queen.
She goes like, well, I think that was productive. And she looks to Asher, and Asher does stand. Fortress and Pantheon both stand as well. She goes, all right, well then, Igneous, I'll make my report and be in touch. In the meantime, stay safe, or as safe as you can. And as Asher is walking out, she stops in front of Jeremy, alongside Jeremy, and she looks at you, and you don't need any sort of role to understand that there's this look of just intense relief on her face, and it's layered under a deep, deep sorrow. She sort of holds your eyes and, well, whether you were late or not, I'm glad you finally made our meeting.
It was a nice one, given all the context.
I was expecting a meeting with Igneous. I'm glad that it was with Jeremy. And then she turns to leave. Fortress is very deep in thought, sitting at her desk. And she hits the button on her sort of tablet desk, and you see that the window behind her becomes translucent again and becomes a window, and you can see the morning light and Moonlight Academy outside.
As she does that, Jeremy will like sit up from his chair, kind of like knocking it over. He's like, I forgot to say something, and he'll run and he'll try and make it into the elevator with Asher.
Mm-hmm. You do.
Ooh.
He'll do like a dodge roll in and just
Yeah, you make it.
collide with the door. And he'll be like, listen, I know that I just scared you because of how awesome I am. Just some final things while we're alone. How many people do you think were taken by what we assume is Silencer from No Man's Highway?
That I know of, 2.
Okay. Do you have a picture of Kate?
No, that would have scared her off.
And do you know what facilities might be holding JJ's body?
I don't suppose you'd tell me why.
We made a promise that we would finish this together. And I need to keep that promise.
Don't get me wrong, Jeremy. I am ecstatic to see you alive. But my responsibility remains and will always remain to the good of this city. I have faith in heroes. but I can't support a world where you can do whatever you want. Promise or no, that's a road you're going to have to walk down on your own terms. And I wish you luck.
Jeremy will lean against the elevator, and as it opens, he'll say, then I wish you luck in protecting the people of the city. I, however, will make sure that the dead have their justice, and he'll push a button to close the elevator.
You don't hear anything from her as the doors close behind you. So, Fortress doesn't have much else to say.
I lean over like this on the desk and I'm like, how do you do it? This is so stressful. And I only have to report on it. I don't actually have to make any decisions on it.
Well, with great power comes an immense amount of paperwork.
That's a
Hopefully
t-shirt.
I don't cause you anymore.
Yeah.
But I did send my preliminary report last night. Now
Well,
I just wait for what they say.
Personally, I find that very exciting. And as you're walking away, she says, "Oh, and Taramon, I do hope that you had a happy birthday."
I knew you were going to say that. I did. Because I trusted in the people around me.
She nods to you, and she leans forward to her desk and continues writing, working on various administrative things that she has to keep track of. There is a heaviness to the air as you leave that room, a tension that she is not afforded the luxury of leaving. As the door closes, you breathe deeply and begin to walk back toward your house. On your way there, Pantheon goes, "Well, now that that's done, or at least on some sort of very involved pause, I want to get back to what we were discussing before. You guys did a really excellent job, selecting your clothing and stuff, really working on your identities. Really excellent work. And now, as promised, and she sends you guys each a link. Or she sends the link, maybe you guys have like a group text with her. So she sends you a link and she goes,
Definitely.
"This is a link to the various agencies that Moonlight Academy contracts with. You'll see references, examples, links to their individual sites where you can see examples of their work, heroes who vouch for them, who they have designed costumes for, and you'll see them ranked in order of their popularity and how many heroes have used them in recent years. You have the weekend, and again, I'm sorry that you don't have longer, but you have the weekend to choose the agency that you would like to design your costume. Consultations with those agencies are going to begin soon. You can choose multiple for now and meet with more, but the more you choose, the more ahead of time we need to know, because you have more people to meet with, and they all have a lot of students that they need to meet with over time as well. So go through these. If you pick ones that we don't contract with, anything that you want to do on your own, and she looks at Haramon for a brief moment like a person who very much knows what you're thinking. And she goes, that's fine as well. Just let me know. You're all free to do your own research beyond the contractors that we already contract with. And we need to just be able to navigate, working it out so you don't have to pay out of pocket for it.
I mean, I was gonna say I'll consult with the Blakes to be polite, but you kind of made it sound like I would just be wasting their time. So I should just probably not. I've already notified.
Well, as a team, I think it would be beneficial for all of you to go to your consultations together.
Okay.
But that's just me. If you prefer something more personal, that's fine too. But it's really up to you. Consultations with the Blakes. And there's this look of like, huh. All right. Teaches me yet again to not underestimate you guys knowing things. So yeah, have at it. You have the weekend. You're not going to hear from me this weekend because this is going to take up a lot of your time. So let me know what you pick as soon as you know. If you have any questions, I'll be around. And she looks over to Jeremy and she goes, I think that was really good work in there. I know these are not ideal circumstances, but I think you made the right call.
If you want, I can do that prestige interview.
Yeah, well, I'll keep it in mind. But you're on Team Pantheon now. You're going to have to get used to our lives being this weird.
Honestly, this is a refreshing breath of normal.
Normal, you say? Oh. I'm going to have to plan something extra special with Tonitrus for next week. And she sees the reaction and leaves very satisfied with herself.
BB follows her really quickly.
Okay.
Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, what's up?
And BB walks with her a little bit away from the group and is like,
okay.
Do you think that it's appropriate or safe to bring other students into this?
Wow. I mean, my instinct is to keep the circle as tight as possible, but I can see that you guys have made it this far because of the connections you've made and the friends that you've made, and far be it from me to tell you who you can and can't trust. That's an instinct that you're developing all on your own. So if you think you can trust people, your friends here, enjoy that while you have it. It's everything to us.
BB lets the while you have it kind of hit her. I think that that's not what Pantheon wants her to take from that, but that is absolutely what she takes from that.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of her eyes, she looks down at the ground and she's like, okay. And then runs to catch up with the group.
So you guys
talking
now
about BB? Were you talking about boys or girls?
No, actually, it was girl stuff. So
Girls,
thank you
yeah.
very much.
So you guys now have this weekend to go over these links, look through these agencies, and figure out sort of which ones look interesting to you. And between now and the next episode, we are, and I think beyond that too, because next episode isn't necessarily going to deal with this as much. But off screen, you guys will have some time to come up with different agencies if you want to.
Yes.
Like if you guys want to figure out some ones, we'll do some like brainstorming sessions on that. But as you guys sit down together, just sort of that instinctual, like, oh, we have the stuff, let's look at it together, right? You start looking at it and you see very clearly that the number one agency, not only the most popular, but also the like most what's the word I'm
Oh,
looking for? The
oh,
most
renowned.
prolific for Heroes of Moonlight.
Renowned.
Yeah. It is Blake. And
Does the Blakes do normal fashion too?
they do kind of,
Begrudgingly.
but not really. You can look into their history a little bit more, and you can see that they started there as a platform to get big so that they could do hero stuff, and now they mostly just do hero stuff.
I changed my mind. Haramon's fashion purchase for their assignment is one $100 item from the Blake company, because now I imagine that they do like really fancy only clothes, because like they don't have to do like more fast fashiony sort of styles. That I've changed my mind.
So Blake is run by a couple. One of them deals primarily in design and the other deals primarily in the business element, and they are just prolific. Their biggest like success story recently is they designed Blackout's costume. When Blackout like basically like stopped being Tonitrus's sidekick and reinvented himself as Blackout instead of who he was before that, and he revealed himself to the world as Blackout. That costume design that that he has, that blue and black with the lightning and the yellow, and like the place where his staff like breaks apart into two and holds like the holsters and stuff, they designed that, and it's like pride and joy right now. That's like their main accomplishment right now that everyone is talking about.
How long has Blackout been on the scene? Yeah, with that costume.
Few years.
Okay, but they're still like,
Not too
this
long.
is the best thing
They're
we've
still
done
riding
recently.
that wave.
Yeah.
They're riding that wave recently. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing though that they're known for is all of Nova, like this composition of the Nexus of Valiance, they all had like an update of their costumes together when they all signed on to be a part of the school, because that's something that you guys know. Fortress is the first headmistress of Moonlight Academy to have ever gotten every primary member of Nova to teach there at once. That's never happened before. So when that happened, when they all agreed to sign on together with her as headmistress, they all did a costume update together.
That's
so
awesome.
Their current looks were all designed by Blake.
Hell yeah.
Their original, like they're all just little updates, and you look at that, you know your superhero history, BB, and so does Silhouette. So you know that like all of the members of Nova, they've had different costumes.
This is their Moonlight age.
With a similar thread, yeah. But this is their Moonlight era of their costumes, and like you can see the buildup of their looks throughout the years, the decades they've been on the scene. But this is like their crispest, newest look that is unified, and it's all of their current looks are designed by Blake.
Team Blackout
except
go to Blake.
Except
there is one exception. There is one member of Nova who did not get a big like overhaul update by Blake. You can guess who it is.
Is it Quickstep?
No,
Prestige.
It's Combio.
Wow, yeah. I bet he
The
got
king.
someone in the hood to.
Yeah.
You don't know. You can ask him. But he's the only one. He's friendly with them for sure, but
like,
his
"I
costume
like
was not
this."
designed by them.
I will say, when Phoebe is going to talk about girl stuff with Pantheon, Hermione immediately, I think this was a picture that like they took before, but they just never actually sent the text, and they send Ivy a text with a picture of Hermione from the nose up, holding the scale like above their head, so that the perspective is really distorted and their forehead is really big, but you can still see the scale in like the corner of the frame. And on it, in like a little Snapchat bar, it says, "You gave me your scale, please respond." And they send that to Ivy, and they say, "When you see Helix next, please show him this picture."
He sends you back like a laughing face, and then he goes, when I see him.
I think that hits Hermione like a ton of bricks. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
We've been talking about what's up with Helix, but I don't think Hermione realized like how dire it's seemed for like the realization of Ivy has been having these conversations with me because he doesn't really see him around, and like, or like, you know, all of that is just like immediately falls on Haramon.
Yeah. So it's also, I wanted to point out too, there's one other agency that I want to mention that is the second most popular, but there's an argument to be made that it's neck and neck with Blake because it is a brand new agency. It's only been around like this past year pretty much and has skyrocketed in popularity. The agency is called Avery.
Is it the one that designed the Arbiter's looks?
It did.
Yeah.
So this agency is called Avery, and it is run by a very enigmatic, high fashion person who is like the face of this agency. Blake tends to really run on like the two of them are really nice public figures, but they're not like the face of the company necessarily. They really ride the coattails of like, here are the heroes that wear our stuff, and they love that. Avery is like a public figure, and you see like these people that like Avery wears these elaborate like Met Gala outfits, and he goes to all of these different events and places, and he's like hanging out with celebrities. This guy is like Playboy Supreme right now. But he's not, he doesn't seem to be a bad person. He seems to just be like a party boy, but he throws his money at like all kinds of places. And he does pride himself on like a lot of like ethical material working stuff. And he primarily is a fashion designer who does both, and both are equally important to him. You see celebrities as well as new younger heroes wearing his stuff. And it's like wild and extravagant and really flashy. He does a lot of themes, like people who have very strong themes, lots of color. But yeah, the primary thing that Avery is known for is his work on the Arbiter's outfits.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So that agency is like right up there. Those are the main two. The next one down is like, it's like far down in popularity beyond those two. Like they're the ones right now that are like neck and neck. And they're not necessarily competing. I mean, they are technically, but like they're existing in this space.
It's not like one of those weird commercials that are like, we're not like this name brand. They're not like that. They're like,
Yeah, they very deliberately don't seem to ever interact. Avery doesn't seem to acknowledge Blake ever.
Can't have beef if you don't interact.
Yeah, so there's definitely, it's interesting. Very, very different vibe. So they're the main two. As I said, over time between now and the next session, we can talk a little bit off camera of if you guys have other ideas for agencies you'd want to meet with or work with, and we'll revisit that at a later time, next time we get into this issue. But for now, you guys spend the rest of your day sort of looking at this, talking a little bit out, you know, some of the stuff that you've been dealing with. You make it through to the weekend. Is there anything very briefly that you guys do the next day, Saturday?
I think, well, one, I'm in my heart hoping for the Dragon Scale to hard divert us into a Dragon Tales-esque fantasy adventure.
Yes.
That's my headcanon for the superhero show, the sci-fi superhero show.
I might.
God, us in House Pantheon doing I wish I may, I wish I might, iconic. Sorry.
Yep.
But in more pressing, BB kind of spends a lot of the weekend. She looks over the list, but I think she knows what she wants pretty much immediately. Okay. And she spends most of the weekend researching Nova West more and No Man's Highway. And then, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, go ahead and give me an investigation check on your research.
I'd love to do that. Is that intelligence? Or
it's intelligence, and if you have any proficiency in either history or investigation specifically.
I don't, but it is a 3 out of 2.
3 out of 2. Ooh, okay. On a beyond success, you're going to get a very, very important piece of information.
Ooh.
So we've already discussed a little bit that Nova West exists in a place called the Scorch,
Mhm.
which is a big desert where a lot of people have settled. And it's on one side of a huge highway called No One's Highway that is largely not fucked with because
Yeah.
it is the territory of various biker gangs who patrol that area and raid. Many of them operating out of the crime cities run by crime families near that area and largely preyed upon by them, but mostly free agents. And you know that the Boundless, who are the biker group who almost
Right.
took over the city a
Yeah.
long time ago, the ones that, from what you can tell, Dr. Guest was once a part of,
Yeah.
that was like the area that you're looking at. It, like, their territory is somewhere along there as well. And as far as you know, like, they're pretty much not, they haven't operated really since then.
Yeah.
But you hear rumors, stories coming out of there that there are conspiracy theories that the Boundless are still alive and well, and that they're still out there somewhere doing what they do. But there are various other gangs that are still just as bad. They're just not organizing against the first city. They're preying on those areas very heavily.
And
Nova West
previously have our guidance counselor as one of their members.
Nova West on the Scorch side deals with it. But what you learn about Nova West is they don't have a lot of a presence on the other side of No One's Highway. The other side of No One's Highway, the crime cities largely do what they do. The cities that were founded by organized criminals who left First City when they were brought here and carried on their businesses by building their own cities that they are in control of, that Alma can't do much of anything about. They have their own like protection rings and stuff around those areas. But because of the nature of No One's Highway, the gangs, the bandits, and the crime cities on the other side, Nova West has very little to do with the settlements on the other side. And in your research, you do find reference to the place that Asher mentioned. You do find reference to Stone Keep settlement.
Okay.
And it is very distinctly a place, you don't get really any pictures, you just hear about it, that it is almost like a kind of a homeless settlement, a safe haven, where a lot of people try to go and protect themselves and each other from the gangs who roam that area, because it is a natural outcropping formation of these big rock formations. They create these natural, very bizarre structures that there are actually a lot of wild, like wacky conspiracy and alien theories about, much like Stonehenge in that way, where it's like just a lot of these big outcroppings, but they create almost like a cool, like living area with a lot of nooks and crannies to hide in. So a lot of people take shelter there and have created this community of wanderers who live there. And it is a place
So it's
where,
it's almost like naturally occurring pueblos.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just
sick.
big like rock formations and structures. And you see that is distinctly on the other side of No One's Highway, the side that Nova West can't really do anything about. So you know that it is not a place that is protected by Nova West.
Sick. Okay.
So that's the extra very important information you get for that super success.
That's, I mean, sick, but that's also not great. But I think seeing that, BB kind of like rubs her temples and is like, is this still worth it? And then decides that it is and grabs her phone and texts Troubleshooter. Hey, do you want to come over for some beers sometime soon? Question mark, question mark, question mark. The team and I would love to hang.
Oh, that's nice.
Smiley face.
Me and the team.
Me and my friends would love to hang out with you.
It takes a while, but you get back a response that says, I'm planning something. Stay tuned. I'll make an appearance.
Oh, shit.
What the fuck?
One fear.
BB blushes, I think, at that. And then it's just kind of like, haha, cool. And I think, no, yeah, she definitely says, like, I hope it's sooner rather than later. And then she'll put the phone down probably, and then go join the group again.
Okay. Anything else for Saturday specifically from you guys?
I think Hermone goes to house blackout.
Oh, cool.
And I here's what I'm imagining in my brain space. They walk in, Poltergeist is just sitting on the couch, Baby Loney's in a different room, and Haramon's like immediately makes the connection and is like trying so hard not to give him any lip about it, but Very is obviously like, ooh, you baby Loney, ooh, because they know it's not Hecate for sure, for dang sure. And they're just sort of like almost like Baby Loney herself. They're just sort of like dancing and like giving him a smug look as they like sort of like skip dance over to Backtrack's room and like gives them a wink as they go into Backtrack's room.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much it. Like they just like I think Haramon's more invested in hanging out with Backtrack now.
It's fair.
For obvious reasons. That are not this time, you know.
Yeah, he's there. You can do that for sure.
And I also think that they text Monarch like, would you be offended if I didn't interview for your family's company's costume design?
You get like 1,000 like FPF of like sound. And he, bitch. And he, no, JK, do what you want, love.
Wow, I love her.
Icon.
Yeah. That's all I do on Saturday.
Okay.
Jeremy is gonna research as many like what the most likely places that JJ's body could be. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
make an investigation.
Give us that big intelligence energy.
Yeah.
Watch this, all ones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do I succeed? Oh,
Good enough for government work.
Fucking math, you know this, Ben. Please, I beg you.
Brian, work with me.
4 out of 5.
4 to 5? Okay. So here's the thing about this. You know that everything that is public and governing and like, you know, where the president hangs out, where Congress is, all of these things are things that are actually on the island of the main island of First City because they need to be close to the people. But the island that is sort of colloquially known as the Alma Island, it's not because it's the seat of government. It's because it's where the secret shit happens. It's where Blackstone is. And you can only assume that there is some sort of medical facility that, I mean, you know, there would be some there, but this is the kind of thing that there is no question they would be keeping his body somewhere on that island for maximum security and privacy.
Then,
as for where, by nature of it, you would not know the name of a medical facility on that island.
But you do know that the rest of your team are going there pretty soon.
I think maybe unless you have some other plan for what happens tonight, Jeremy may be coming back in the wee hours of the morning.
Okay. So Jeremy is not home that night. As you reconvene, you hang out. I'm going to ask you guys, how late do you stay up?
On Saturday?
Yeah, on Saturday. How late do you guys stay up?
I mean, it's a Saturday, so probably pretty late.
I think this is post meeting with Fortress, right? Like that's the same day. And
this is the next day.
Oh, next day. I feel like we were talking about both we switched back between talking about outfits to talking about the investigation to talking about like art outfits or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe there's other stuff as well.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. At like 11:30 p.m.
Oh, for sure.
Somewhere in there. You're awake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So you guys are hanging out. Joe is kind of sleepy, but she's like keeping herself awake, hanging out, building some robots and stuff. in the middle of this, more or less peaceful time, Jeremy's not here. He's out doing something we'll find out about next time.
What fear?
You hear a frantic at your door.
Oh.
It can make you jump for sure because it's very sudden and it's late, so it's a little alarming.
Hunting knife is out.
I'll get up.
Are
and go
you
to the
in?
door.
Okay. You get up and go to the door.
Yeah.
At the same time, like the knocking stops for a second, and Haramon specifically, you get a buzz.
Okay. Okay.
And at the same time you look at it, you see that you have a text from QuickTime from Team Tonitrus.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
So you go to look at it. You go to look at this text on your phone, and you see that it's from QuickTime,
Okay.
your friend from Team Tonitrus.
Okay.
And at the same time that you read the message, you hear the words out loud, muffled from behind on the other side of the door.
Of course she does. Yep.
It says, "Hair, let me in. Emergency."
Bro, open the door.
You
Yeah.
open the door and you see her standing there, largely in her PJs. She's got like just sort of a sports bra bandeau situation and like sweatpants on. Her hair is kind of all messy.
And she
And-
can see that I'm actively putting away that hunting knife.
Mhm. She goes,
What?
Paramount.
What happened? Is it Helix?
"He's in the hospital."
What?
And that is where we'll pick up next time.
Oh no. Oh boy. Uh-oh.
For an adventure with Team Tonitrus.
God damn it. This is exactly what Ivy and I
SpaghettiOs.
knew was gonna happen.
Thank you guys for our fun fashion adventure and our fun detective adventure
Yeah.
and our fun adventure
And our
adventure.
Fun adventure.
Thank you all at home. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time for this harrowing and daunting Helix-related emergency.
Oh boy.
Till then, keep it super. Get out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.